through the agenda, and then we'll go to the committee assignments. So starting with ordinance number 1, emergency ordinance establishing the compensation schedule for non-union city employees in Macedonia effective January 1st, 2017. Mayor, do you want to speak on this?
Yeah, it's just some cleaning up of, it's not, there's no raises obviously included in this. This is some language cleanup.
Well, you can, number 1.
You want to address it?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so there is some dollar amount changes that pertains to the position of mayor and the position of council, but the others are strictly wording and, right.
Yeah.
And
This is the one with the change for,
because the council, the 2013 ordinance and the 2012 ordinance.
that we have to stay in
Right.
line with
PERS.
PERS.
Right, we did pass ordinances in 2013 about that, staying at the minimum always.
So what that does is it increases us by $30 and increases the mayor, but that's because of the ordinance that was adopted.
$30, shit.
But,
I'm excited.
All-
Is that a pay or a year?
well, listen, the mayor's pay gets increased by $200 for the year.
But
What are you
30 a
complaining
year
about? Oh, I got 30 more.
is
So it's 30 a month.
30 a month, even better.
Holy
For us.
smokes.
You
Yeah.
guys get more than I do.
But that's in
We're
line
worth
with
more
P-
than you.
It's all because of PERS and it's all because of legislation council passed
I
in 2013
For
to
council
stay
and
in.
2012 for the mayor.
Well, is that why it went up from when I had left and when I came back?
Yes. Exactly.
Okay, that makes
Went to the
sense.
minimum requirement here.
Well,
So it's still at the minimum requirement
Okay,
to get a full month credit.
that's the real story. It has nothing to do with whether we get a PRA. It's whether we get a full credit.
Correct. But the ordinance is written such to keep compliant with that.
I understand.
so is there, at any time they would change it, whether up or down, which will never go down?
Right.
It would
Yes,
change.
the way the ordinance is written, it's not a dollar amount, it's just to be compliant with minimum standards.
Right, the minimum wage.
And the mayor's is to be compliant with the CPI.
Okay.
Let me just say something, because way back in the day, when I first got onto council, early 80s, 81 to be exact, we never were in compliant. What happened was, I was under PERS back in those days, so it didn't make a difference for me, but those that weren't, they never got credit.
Yeah.
There was like 5 years, from 81 through 86, that those that served on council could never get credit for, be vested into PERS. Obviously, things have changed under PERS. So there was obviously that movement way back then in 86 then to bring it compliant. So I think it was a good thing someday in the future here that they just made it automatic. Just because that's the only great benefit that I think a council person gets, is to get under the public employees retirement system a little differently than being under Social Security, if you will. A lot better.
If I recall, Dave, you and I were here at the time when our intent was to do that, so we never got to touch this again. Was that not our intent?
Probably sound like a couple of chickens.
Well, let's put it this way.
I just know I came back for a raise, it was awesome.
I see.
It wasn't a lot of money, but it was awesome.
Really. The real purpose of the whole change at the state level was to blow off people who weren't contributing enough to get, you know, their payout system was being drained by people who were at the margin, that's all.
You still have to earn $1,000 a month to be eligible to receive medical benefits at retirement. So that still is below that threshold.
And we're below the medical threshold.
Jan, will you take that one, please?
And are we doing 1 or 1 through 3?
I'm going to do 3.
Are there any other changes at all? We haven't changed the pay grades at all?
No, again, if you look down to the terminology, you know, there's nothing other than those two in terms of cost. But if you go under public service, they deleted clerk out, and you have, here.
What do you mean public service?
So there's, Yeah, do you see under public service,
No.
they deleted clerk out?
That's what I'm trying to find out.
Oh,
What's public
okay.
service? What
Which
page are you on?
section?
Oh,
That's it.
yeah. Sorry.
Section
Did you say
2.
that? Section,
Are we talking about in the public service department, or what are we talking about?
yes, we're talking about the public service.
It's on
department.
page 2 in the middle.
Right, so it's under section, it is under section 1. It is on page 2.
Oh, I see
And you
it.
see where they've deleted out clerk,
Yep.
and you've deleted out clerk in the building department, that's,
Okay.
and the dollar amounts according to the administrative position and council.
So we've eliminated the grade 5 and we're sticking with grade 6. Basically, the idea.
She's the one that produced it, right?
Right.
So, 1, 2, 3. I mean, it matches the ordinance that was passed, so.
Moving into 2, confirming the appointment of Meredith James Garvey, full-time
Which
firefighter.
one is it?
I'm sorry?
Who's doing number 1?
Jan.
Okay.
2, Kevin, we took that one.
Is he a pitcher, James Garvey?
I believe
Pitcher
he
named
was.
Jim Garvey?
Anyone opposed to a third reading of Mr. Garvey?
Both of these are in the top 5 on the test.
I know that one was 4, right, Josephine?
Yeah, Brian is.
Chief's here, you can ask him.
Brian is
2 and 4.
Yeah.
2 and 4.
Yes.
So
And
that's-
they're being paid through the contract with Sagamore, or the
Yes. This is Northfield Center.
Northfield Center?
This is Northfield Center,
This is
that's
the
my
last,
other
this
question.
is the last of the full-time fighters for the
Right.
consolidation.
So everything is within the 1.1 million that we collected between
Yes.
Sagamore and, all right.
Are these guys from Northfield Center?
No.
Okay.
That's from our civil service list.
Well, I guess that's
Number 3, or number 2.
2 and number 4.
Okay.
Moving to number 3, Brian Friend, full-time firefighter, 3 reads. Dave, will you take that one, please?
Sure.
Moving on to 4, confirming the appointment of Laura Bucco to full-time administrative assistant for the service department. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, what we did, we had Mariah Carey, if you remember. We had-
Terry.
Terry, was it?
Terry, Mariah Carey's the same.
We did have Mariah Carey, and she lip synced a lot, yes.
She's a lot of trouble now, so we don't even want to talk about it.
That's pretty good.
Joe, you've just proved you're getting old, really old.
Okay, I owed myself that one.
Eliminate name. You had someone who left?
We had somebody who left, and when she left, she was a full-time employee in the finance department. We've decided that we would make that position part-time, and Laura, who has been with the city for 10 years in a part-time position, and somebody that we need extra in the service department, make her full-time. So what we're doing is just trading dollars for a full-time employee, so it's like a swap.
And that's
Neutral.
It's revenue neutral to us.
Right. That's also the one we got the note from Diana today, that it was budget neutral. Thank you.
What did, just to clarify, what are we saying about, there were 2 ladies in the service department last time I knew.
One was a
Sure.
full-time, one's a part-time.
Right. And who has left or who has made the adjustment, so this is budget neutral?
Mariah Terry left.
Mariah Terry.
She left the finance department.
Oh,
Full-time left.
She left, she was full-time, left full-time position, we're gonna make that part-time.
Okay.
Part-time position is
so it's a
third.
trade actually from your department. Okay, got it.
Same job classification, number-wise.
I was that class, I'm not sure.
Well, that would either make it budget neutral or not, right?
I would think.
Well, it's very, I'm sure it's inception level on both.
Okay.
You looking to hire Diana Cross for that position?
Huh.
Jan, will you take number 4, please, third reading?
Yes, sir.
Moving on to 5, a resolution confirming the appointment of Robin Buginski to
Couldn't
the
think of a
City
good name.
of Macedonia Audit Committee. I'll take that one. Mayor, do you want to speak to that one?
I believe Robin has been on the board. And so we're reappointing.
Anyone opposed to a third read?
Nope.
Moving on to number 6, mayor enter a subscription agreement with Wellright to provide wellness program for full-time employees. Kevin, will you take that one?
We gonna stay at first read here?
Yes.
Well, it is, it technically doesn't go into effect until the 1st of February, so you can keep it at first read. However, this is the program that replaces Vitality. And Vitality is the program that it is the incentive for employees to participate in to keep their cost of their health care down. And if you recall, Claudia had mentioned during her last report about all of the changes that were happening with her health care, that the company that she's been working with, Ms. Wellright, had indicated that because Macedonia's participation is at 88%, it's kind of like unheard of in the industry, that employees don't participate to that level. The other thing Claudia circulated was that the cost per employee had been $6 per employee, and this cost is under 4. Actually, slightly over 6, and now it's under 4.
We just got the actual attachment this afternoon, so I would like to keep this at first reading. There's no reason to rush this.
This is also something that is not decided just by the administration, it's done by a committee of employers and representatives from the union. So this is Claudia going out doing a lot of research
She did say so.
to get a great, right, to get a great plan that would give us still the incentives, but also cost us less money.
We passed the healthcare benefit package in December,
Yeah,
correct?
right, but that's not this one.
This is
This is
just
a
for the
different-
employees.
This is part of it, it's the incentive program to keep the premiums.
It's a contract
Okay.
related to it.
I'll keep it at first reading, so if that's what you want.
Moving on to number 7, Jan, will you take that one? It's codified ordinance of the city of Macedonia relative to employee health care. Mr. Mayor?
Can I jump in?
Jump in, go ahead, Josephine.
Before Mariah
This
Carey
is for
comes
the,
in.
again, this is the Wellright. The wording in there had been Vitality, that was the company we were using. So you're amending the code, because the code actually said Vitality. So you're amending the code language to reflect Wellright. So if you're keeping it, the first one, keeping the Wellright agreement at 1, you may as well keep this one.
First read. Moving on to number 8, Sylvia, will you take this one, please? Ordinance amending section 16115, City of Macedonia relative to education reimbursement. Josephine?
Well, again, we've always had a requirement in the code section that if you are an employee and you go to school while you're here, and the city pays for that cost, you have a time period in which you need to be employed before you leave. And the language was not as clear as it could have been, and so this is what's clearing this up.
We're saying courses as opposed to schooling, and it's also creating a, when does that occur? 2 years after,
Complete your last course.
yeah, the last course. So,
Last course.
well, the whole idea behind this educational incentive was that we wanted employees to have the ability to go to school, but we also didn't want them to leave with that education and leave the city, so we wanted to get reimbursed if they should leave.
Okay.
This is a
Same as
2-year
my
window.
company.
Third read.
Yep.
Moving on to number 9, relative to billing the services of municipal water system utility in the city of Macedonia, distributing City of Cleveland water. Kevin, will you take that one?
Who?
Kevin?
No, actually, I think the mayor should address this. Mayor, you're left.
You want to talk about water, especially today?
Yeah, well, especially today.
What is
It's the youth portion.
I'm trying to think about.
It's down, okay. It's
Oh,
down
okay,
in
yeah,
section two.
I needed to go back and rethink this. Okay, this is the water revenue.
Yeah.
So, right now, our water M&E fund has about $340,000. But due to the fact that we are now under contract in turning over our water lines to the city of Cleveland, the water M&E fund does not need to continue to grow as it did grow. So my recommendation is that we pull at least 50% out of the water M&E fund and put it into a leaf and branch fund so that we can continue to buy equipment for our leaf and branch pickup. And we will maintain our fire hydrants and our fees that we have to pay on an annual basis to the city of Cleveland, which amount to, you know, we get a bill from them for hydrant flushing, which is I'm in negotiations with them right now to see what the heck that's all about. But last year was $29,000, this year it's $35,000. So we obviously need to maintain some funds in there so we can pay those fees for fire hydrant flushing. But I don't think that we're gonna need that kind of money in there for maintenance and extension of water lines as much as we did before the city of Cleveland now is taking over responsibility.
So we'd be transferring to, setting up a different line item?
Well, yeah, we put it into a leaf and branch pickup line item for into service.
But we don't do branch pickup, are we gonna start?
Well, that's another piece of legislation I have in here, but that's, yes, something that I want to talk about is to start to do the branch pickup. And the reason for that issue, as it is with the leaf issue, is that under our contract with Republic, we have indicated that we would take a certain amount of trash away from the daily or weekly pickup, and that we're responsible for those types of leaves and branches and other pickups. That occurred many years ago when we negotiated one of our first contracts with, at that time, Inland, where we actually got a better rate because we were moving in the direction of picking up our own leaves and branch pickup.
Is the plan that, or that you're gonna use this to, I know we've had talks about damage to leaf pickup machines, or are we gonna, is that what we're gonna use them for?
Exactly. They'll be used for the purchase of equipment that will continue to allow us to get out there and pick up leaves. As you know, the machines that we have, I think the oldest one, did you say, John, was how old?
24 years old.
24 years old. So.
We have a newer machine, though.
But we have two
Yes,
newer
we have
ones.
one
but-
that leaves a 2014.
One of the questions, actually, I would have, now that I understand what this was about, is we have the option of simply cutting back that, what we're collecting, which is now, what, $20.80 annually?
$20.80.
And we have the option of simply cutting that back, or if we know that we really don't need to collect it anymore, we do that. The leaf issue is totally, to me, a separate issue.
The only thing is, if you don't collect the leaves, where do they wind up?
Well,
They wind up in the street, they wind up in
Well,
the
they're-
stormwater, they wind up in the gutter.
That's where they're winding up in a good many times anyway, but
But if you have a leaf pickup, it
it's not that, I'm not
eliminates
against leaf
a lot of
pickup.
that issue.
I'm not against leaf pickup, don't get me wrong, I think we're fine doing that. I'm just wondering why we're making this kind of change to the water ordinance when we have another ordinance here that's talking about starting to charge people, I believe, I understand it as charging them $12 a year to support leaf pickup?
Was $3 a month. Let me go back in time to explain something that.
36, I'm sorry, 36.
Many years ago, we instituted the $3 a month fee so that we could start our leaf and branch pickup program.
Uh-huh.
And it had a sunset on it. And I think the
Right.
sunset was, what was it? 2000, around 2000, it fell off.
Yes?
What it allowed us to do at that time, and unfortunately it fell off, but if it were still in place, it would have continued to build the funds and would have still allowed us to build or have monies in there for leaf machines and all the other equipment that we need to buy on an annual basis to keep that program up and running. We've gone obviously a number of years pulling the money out of the general fund to continue to subsidize it. And now I'm saying that we need to rebuild our fleet up again, and then if there's a sunset on that, then maybe we ought to do that. But it's like anything. I didn't agree when it fell off at that time, but because we had made an indication to the residents that it would fall off in
Yeah.
a certain amount of years, we let it fall off.
So it hasn't been charged for about 17 years, is what we're saying.
That's right.
Well,
But we still do the surveys.
right,
that have no
we have been doing it
remuneration.
all that period.
So
right.
in number 9, what I pay today is what I pay tomorrow. It's just that half of the money will go to leave.
Right, so we're changing
In
the
this,
purpose.
in this particular piece of legislation, yes.
So-
What we're doing is redistributing the monies
Right.
from out of the water M&E fund.
But then in 10, I will pay $36 a year to have my leave.
Now, that's a separate ordinance, yes, that's a
Right.
separate.
And then, will that only do capital? Will that also care for overtime? I mean, if it goes in that line item, it can only be used for leave pickup. Can it pay for both?
My answer to that would probably be yes, we could probably.
Rhonda's shaking her head. Mariah Carey back there saying.
Big ballpark, and that's all I'm asking is, what's the cost of a replacement for one of these leaf pickup machines?
New machines are up to 75,000.
And we're talking about 150,000 transferring from M&E to
Yeah, approximately.
approximately, which is basically pretty close to 2 machines, which would seem to be, get us up pretty well up to.
Let me tell you, the 75,000 is for the automated arms, for the hydraulic driven arms.
Right.
Not the manuals that we used to have, because that reduces manpower on the crew.
Right, that's
So
fine.
that's where it's coming from.
Okay.
But those are also
So-
trailered, right?
Yes, it's total.
And you pull those by 5 tons?
Would it be better to put it back into the general fund and then just pay it out of there so that we free up the other 75,000 for something else? If we only need one machine?
Well, we may
Well,
only
we need one machine or two?
We may
That's what
only
he
need
said,
one
one.
leaf machine, but we may need a couple chipping machines.
Well, we would still
And
be
we
in
also
there.
may need some
Yeah.
truck, we need about 6 or 7 trucks
It
at the
would
same time.
still be, the fund would still be in, it would just be
Right.
in the general fund to be spent rather than a leaf pickup specific fund. If that makes any sense, instead of making it
But
a
it means that
specific
the money will
fund.
never get the leave pickup.
Well, no, not
Because we
necessarily.
have,
Right.
Well,
Well,
we've
things
spent
that
on
are
within, you know, it has gone.
and you guys, I
to
love
pick
all,
up
I love the
machines
buckets,
before.
so
we have,
I like putting things in certain buckets.
It has to be specific.
I think we should.
It has
Has
to
to
what?
be
It should be-
specific?
It should be specific, so that way it goes to the purpose of what it's.
What's for?
Otherwise it goes in the general fund and can just
Well,
go anywhere.
understood, it can be, but I think that's also the flexibility of being able to do that. But we obviously have paid for a new leaf pickup machine recently. It hasn't been like we have not done that. So, in any case, I do see the argument here. I would like to hold this at first reading in both of these cases, because we can have a little more time to look at this whole process. I'm gonna go look at how these ordinances sit right now. And I'm not sure what we do. It seems like when we say water M-I-N-E, I think is what it says on the
M&E.
bill.
I mean, maintenance and extension, that's what it
Right,
stands
M&E,
for.
right, okay. Well, then, we're really changing the purpose of collecting the money, in essence.
Do we have the ability to change what's on the bill?
We would
title?
change the bill too. We'd obviously have to do that.
Okay.
Right. Well,
What would happen if we did one and not the other? If we took the water MIE money and used that half and didn't do the other one to see how we're doing this year and then maybe revisit it?
Well, what I'm really trying to do is get to the point where we can have money for trucks. I mean, we need, you know, the big picture here, and I will go over that again, is the big picture is here is that we carrying over $1.5 million. At the end of the year, we're supposed to carry over about $600,000. We'll have, and that's not a lot of money for a city of our size to carry over $600,000. We came in way under budget this year with all of our expenditures, but we had 0 capital improvement dollars available. We need 6 new cruisers, or we need, I'm not sure, 10 cruisers.
But I
We need
guess
10
what I-
cruisers this year. We need 6 new trucks for the service department this year. We need a grade all this year. And we're without funds. We got $140,000 in capital improvement dollars that are sitting available for us to spend. $0 in 2016.
Well, I don't
We
dispute
are
that,
not
but-
giving out raises this year because we don't have any money
But
to
what I-
give
what I
out
would-
raises to our employees.
What I would say though is instead of saying that I do $3 per month for leaf removal, because then it only puts it to that fund. But John needs it not just to do leaf pickup, he needs trucks for so much other work, the police cruisers, you know. My fear is when you do it that way, it's only for that. And if I can.
If you don't want to do anything with the water M&E, leave the water M&E fund.
No, what I'm
No,
saying is
she's
if you
saying
do
the
the water
opposite.
M&E and then look to see, because we still haven't talked about it, how we're gonna, we need capital dollars. I don't think anybody walked away from the other night without realizing we have zero money for stormwater, roads, rec center, or any capital. You know, when the chief said I need cruisers, which he does every year, so. I always tease him about that.
For your lease.
Yeah, he's used to my teasing with that, but I would say, why don't we do the M&E fund, and then look at, we really need a capital revenue plan for everybody. And trust me, the leaf pickup, sometimes we use it, but when we don't, it's all in the back, so it just sits there and mulches, but we love that leaf pickup on our street with all the trees. Yeah, it's not that I don't use it, but that would be my thought, is to take number 9 and then don't do 10 until we have a little more discussion on budget.
I would agree with that.
Well, I brought it here for discussion, so,
Right.
you know,
We could do it as a first reading and leave it, but my suggestion, why you can do first, as long as it says, if I have one above that says I'm gonna take the money to leave, and then the one below says leave, somebody's gonna go, why? Why so much for leave?
well,
I
to
think
redistribute,
the first one, wasn't it just to get?
to redistribute the money, right?
Right, to redistribute and then to purchase some new
Right.
equipment. The second one is to kind of keep the program going.
Right. But it doesn't impact me financially.
So number 9 is also to, we're buying the equipment, or we're just transferring it?
We're transferring the money into a line item so that we can buy equipment.
That's what I thought.
It's
Okay.
redistributing
For
the
the
money.
leave.
Right.
Okay.
So at this point, we can transfer that money to any line item.
No, you can't
No,
now
no.
without legislation, no.
No, but it doesn't need to say leaf pickup, it could be
No.
the, you know,
It's
the
stormwater
services.
related.
So it has to be
You
stormwater
could
related.
transfer it over to capital improvements to buy trucks if you want to. You could do anything you want to do as far as moving that money. So if you want to take out the word, strike the word.
But
leave.
logically, because it's impacting of water, it makes sense to go there because leaf pickup helps alleviate the water issue.
Sure.
I mean, it's logical. And I'm not a logical person. It's my 2 cents.
I'll bow to whatever you guys want to do on that. You know where we're at, what our circumstances are,
Yep.
the lack of funds.
I'm still
we
finding those
need to
logical.
figure out-
Service director thing. Where would you rather have the funds directed to? For new trucks or for leaf pickups? If that's possible.
You're really backing me in the corner when you need all the above.
So because it's for a specific purpose and we've designated it as a specific purpose, it should generally be still used for that purpose. So you've said it before, it's stormwater related, it should stay stormwater related, which is the leaf pickup.
Right.
And that way you can use it either for purchasing trucks or for the program itself.
The ordinance itself for water M&E identifies that it's used for water-related, for maintenance and that kind of thing. We've used the money before when there was a road that, there was a water main break and we used money for the road.
Is there any way that you can get a list of things we can use it for?
Stormwater related,
Stormwater-related.
truck, radall, leak
But,
back,
but does that then mean we can only use the truck for stormwater work? That doesn't make sense.
on Hall Street.
I mean, it looks like we need a new Gradle, right?
Yes.
So that would be a nice debt, $150,000 into buying a new one, go with a $300,000 machine, right?
Yes.
I'm just saying that maybe it could be used for something that we could use other than just leaf pickup stuff.
So it seems evident to me this is a play on words, but if we say, based on laws or whatever, but if we're using this for a stormwater related activity, which leaf pickup is, then that money can be distributed for that. And if it's a multi-use vehicle, then so be it. Am I right on that? I mean, you're not gonna have a truck parked only for picking up leaves. I mean, if you have a truck and you need to use it, you're gonna use it.
Yeah, they're all outside here.
So call a spade a spade. I mean, that's really what's gonna happen, right? Makes sense to me.
So can we leave it at 1 and then think a little bit more on it and see what the best you could use that money?
We're moving to
It's
10.
fine.
Dave, will you take that one? What do we want to do there? Do we go third read on that?
No, first reading.
First reading.
Okay.
Right.
Moving down to 11, this is for the 1/4% starting July 1st, 2017. Let me take this one, Mr. Mayor.
I actually, I think that the, asking for the 1/4% was probably short-sighted on my part. And I offer to ask that it be amended to show for the 0.5%. We do have the legislation that would reflect the same. But there's no question in my mind that this city will not be able to operate or continue to operate with the downturn in this economy, with the short fall of $274,000 in profit tax coming in, with $550,000 in local government funds being taken away, with a carryover into 2017 or 18 of $600,000 doesn't really impress me as being a very strong for our city. And I was going to throw this out of my report just to let you know, I mean, the communities around us, they're carrying over 9 million, 10 million, 15 million, and this city is carrying over $1.5 million. It's almost embarrassing. We're ranked 23rd out of 70 communities in Northeast Ohio as being one of the wealthiest suburbs. In the meantime, we're not getting what we should be getting for our community. If we don't do something, and I can only take everybody here and lead you to the water, can't make you drink it, but I can certainly tell you that we'll all want to sell our homes and move to some other community because our community will fall apart. People will choose to go to other places and choose to live in another community that have it together. You know, when you can't give out raises, when you can't pave your roads, when you aren't bringing the income in that you anticipated that you were going to get, you got to do something about it. I'm willing to dig into my pocket, put more money into the coffers. I see and recognize that even if I weren't sitting in this seat, but I'm sitting in this seat, and I'm telling you that I see no other way. So my pitch to everybody here on council is that you need to stand unified. You need to get out and support this. And you need to do what's best for this community and its residents. There's no doubt in my mind. When City of Cleveland's at 2.5 and other communities are at 2.25 and going to 2.5, they're eating away at our dollar. That dollar isn't coming back to us, it's going to those communities. So our residents, whoever is affected by it, are going to be paying their 2.5 and 2.25 to other communities.
So this would leave our tax at 2, because we go down a quarter in July.
Right.
And it would leave it where it's today, it's just that quarter would no longer be
Yeah,
there.
my recommendation is not to stay at the 1/4%, just, my recommendation is to go to the 0.5%, to go to 2.25. And that's where we should be.
Yeah, but the way this is written, if I start 1/4%, July 1st, that means I'm still at 2, because isn't July 1st when we go
That is
down?
written that way, yes.
Right, so your preference is 2.25, but your compromise is 2.
I
Is that what
do
I'm
want to
hearing?
give some credence, though, to what Kevin's recommendation was and what he had written. And Nick and I had talked about it, and this is about talking about a credit for resident credit, applied resident credit. So I guess Rhonda was looking into this, I don't know if you had any
Yeah, the Department of Taxation hasn't called me back yet. We're looking to see if this is legal, that you can actually give an applied credit back to your residents if they applied for. If they're affected by the increase from 2 to 2.25, we would refund them that 1/4%.
But this proposal is just to keep it at 2.
Correct.
This one is at 2, but there's a piece of legislation, I don't know if Josephine have it or not, I know it was being brought here. I know that it wasn't in your hands in ample time, but after the realization, after I had already talked about having this brought to the table, Rhonda and I sat down and went over those figures again and again, and the picture is doom and gloom. So just by going to a 0.25% doesn't really handle all of the problems that we have.
And this, the title says it's for stormwater and roads, so it's not dedicated just to roads.
Right.
Okay. So if I'm, and.
But you gotta
I know it
understand
doesn't say
stormwater,
that-
when we talk about stormwater, I wanna make this clear, because I think there's a misnomer to how that's phrased. It's roads with related stormwater issues. So if, for instance, if you have a road that needs a catch basin rebuilt, you rebuild the catch basin. If it's a road that has a ditch line that needs to be rebuilt, then that's rebuilt. This is not for such things as Our Lady of Guadalupe or
Okay.
things of that nature. This is specifically related to roads and related water, stormwater to roads.
So I think you probably need to change the title to say roads, so that people understand that it's not going to affect, it's not going to give money to, or build a fund
Well,
to
I
deal
don't
with
think
things like
we,
that.
I don't even think we need to say stormwater at all, because
Right.
anything related to rebuilding a road, which would include
Right, I agree.
crossovers and
Like
so forth.
something like an all-encompass road rebuild or something.
Well,
Just
there are other
road
issues
improvements,
with
we can
this,
ask
but
Mark
at
if
any
you
rate.
don't have to have that in there, because you don't want to do anything that's,
Maybe when we get out on the floor, we can ask about removing it.
yeah.
Okay.
But I agree, if you say both of those, I'm sitting there saying, well, then you're gonna fund Guadalupe and quit the waterfall down the street.
What I'm-
But you're saying, that's
I'm
not
sa-
impacting a road, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Well,
Well, that's
It's
a-
just eroding Jean's house.
but when you think about the catch basins that we have throughout all of our subdivisions that are falling apart and falling in,
Oh, yeah.
those are stormwater related
Yes, they
to
are.
road
They're
condition.
road related
Right.
Right,
because we
so
have
if
to
you did
have them.
Elizabeth, prime example is that Deepwood goes into Elizabeth. Is that Deepwood, when it cuts across there?
Mhm.
Those are crumbling. The last thing on there is, there's still a little bit of paint remnant from when the previous mayor had, 2 previous mayors ago, had the little fish about this is what goes downstream. But they're falling apart, because when I run there, it's like, don't run there, run out here, because they're crushed. So that would be, but it wouldn't be addressed with this unless we actually took the road. The way this is
I think if you
written.
want to repair a catch basin, it's still part of a road, you repair it, even if it's not redoing the road, that's kind of
Well,
crazy.
when they're engineered, the engineer will recognize the fact that if the catch basin needs rebuilt,
It needs to
it'll be a
it's
part of the
road.
roadway construction.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't want to
Of
get
course
in
they were, that's
this
what
legal
Gelati
mumbo
said the
jumbo.
last time.
You just say road and related, you know.
Yeah.
I tried to
I
make
just
that
don't want to
point
get in
last
a
night.
legal
Exactly the point I was
mumbo
trying
jumbo.
to make
Somebody
last
said,
night.
well,
The
that's a catch
ordinance that we
basin,
put
that's not a
on
road.
wasn't for
People seem
water-related projects,
differently.
it was for just the roads and related projects. That's the same thing that the
Well.
mayor's putting on here.
Whatever.
And so,
I think we need to- Okay, well, we
Either
have,
way, we're gonna
this
do
is gonna
the
be a
first
first
read,
reading,
right, yeah.
right.
Jan, can you take that one, please?
Oh, sure.
Motion authorizing finance director to accept on behalf of Macedonia $100 to the K-9 donation revenue fund from Shirley Folk, and I will take that one.
Oh, sure. You don't take the love, it's that you get the T9.
You figured me out.
Method to your madness.
I will be making a motion to censor Sylvia tonight, so, for distributing information that was misleading to the public.
All right, on to our committee assignments. We'll start at the bottom here, finance chair, customary practice, not charter requirement. I'll recommend Mrs. Tully for that. Any other recommendations?
For what? I couldn't hear you.
Finance committee. Hearing none, we'll move on to Parks and Recreation.
I'd like Kevin there. He's been only his first year.
I don't have a problem with that.
That's my recommendation.
I'd agree.
I'd asked to stay, so thanks.
Vice President, I'll offer Mr. Bilkey for vice. Any other offers? And finally, President.
I would recommend you to stay on as president.
Any other recommendations? Hearing none. Mr. Mayor, do you have anything else you want to touch on before we head out?
The only comment that I would have is that we would need to have a special council meeting before our next finance committee meeting. If we are going to put this issue on the ballot, it has to be done before February 1st.
But if I understand this correctly, we can change this. It doesn't have to necessarily be the same language. It would just be modifying it. So if it was what you said, 2 1/4, or however we would word it.
You can certainly modify it at any given time, certainly.
Okay.
So yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about, I did have a plan I submitted last night. I just wanted to have an opportunity to present it to everybody. And obviously, if we have to submit something to the voters by the 24th, that means I would have to do it prior to the 24th is when our next meeting is for
Well,
finance.
it has to be passed at the last council meeting. That's correct.
Right.
January. It does not have to be passed on the 24th. So the
Well-
24th, you have ample time to discuss it, along with any other proposals, or people, are still thinking.
Okay?
So the 24th is our meeting. I would ask
So are we
Mr.
gonna
Mayor,
have
if
the
we're going to do a
finance meeting-
second reading, we would do it after the meeting, at the end of the meeting, not at the
we
beginning,
gonna
so
do-
we have opportunity for dialogue.
Is that what you just said, that we're going to have the finance meeting first and then council meeting?
Right.
Okay.
That's just logical.
Right,
Right.
okay. And then the other thing is,
So then you would call it at 7 o'clock.
Well, or you will word it to be immediately following
Right.
finance
You
meeting.
would done that. And then the other meeting is what, the
26th. One is the.
I always get screwed up because,
Or it's on the
I know, my
21st.
Sundays are first because that's the first day of the week
Right.
technically.
okay.
In Foster, so the Tuesday is the finance meeting, the 26th.
Yes,
And
26 would be the
Oh, that's
council
what
meeting.
CC understands.
And should we need more time, we
Oh,
have 7 more days in
someday.
between to get it in.
What's it have to be done?
It has to be filed with the Board of Elections February 1.
so,
Otherwise, the next time is November, unless you do a special.
I do have one final
Which makes no
request, is
sense.
that we change our seating assignments out there. I feel like I'm out on an island, and no offense, I feel like I'm sitting next to someone who shuffles their papers the whole meeting, and it drives me crazy. So,
Well, if you're vice, we've decided that that would be the person next to the mayor.
okay.
So you and Dave could swap out today if you want.
Works for me, I'll go back to my old seat.
The odd corner.
I'm going to present an alternative at the finance meeting if I'm allowed to.
Get out from the group.
What did you say, I'm sorry?
I said I'm working on and developing an alternative for the finance meeting for this whole issue of the tax levy.
Can you get that to us prior to, so we can,
Well, I can try to
so
do
we have an
that.
opportunity to look it over?
Well, I will try to do that. If not, then I'll do what I can. But remember, we just had a finance meeting where we had no materials ahead of time.
I think we had everything we've been looked at.
We didn't have
I
any
gave us
advance
material, we just didn't go
priorities.
over, that was kind of frustrating.
All right. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't even have the baseline data from
Well,
the
let's-
finance director.
Let's, yeah, it was, I'll work on mine too, that I did, and clean up some
Right,
stuff. So
well,
we make it
we'll do what
more-
we can do. I'm going to be looking at everything. I will offer what I think ought to be done.
We will decide as a group what's best. Thank you. All set.
As we always do.
Well, okay, so you kind of did it too. So this was,
We never like to start ahead of time. It's 7:27 according to Siri here. So we have about 3 minutes before we can start. So bear with us.
We're not allowed to start early.
Well, if somebody comes in, will everyone vouch that we waited for him? Well, I think we could probably dispense with calling on our having a roll call, and then we can call on our commander here to
Just wait for 3 minutes.
lead us in prayer. So why don't we have a roll call at this time?
Mr. Bilkey,
Here.
Mr. Engel,
Here.
Ms. Hannikin,
Here.
Mr. Molnar.
Here.
And Ms. Tully.
Here.
Okay. At this time, I'm going to call on our chaplain, Tom O'Brien, to lead us in the pledge and also lead us in prayer. Please rise. Prayer first, pledge later.
With bowed heads, let us pray. Almighty God, we accept your hand and guidance of our Macedonia City Council meeting this evening. Let our council members be ever mindful that their first duty is to represent our community in a manner that is above reproach, putting our citizens first and foremost in the decision-making process. God Almighty, we ask that you receive our prayers for those who are sick, both physically and mentally, and you grant them your holy blessing. And lastly, Almighty God, remember our brave men and women who serve to protect our country and those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. Amen. And now with hand over heart, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chaplain, thank you again. Okay. Okay, the first order of business then would be the minutes of our regular meeting of October 13th and 27th of 2016.
Make a motion accepting the minutes of October 13th and 27th, 2016.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried. Acknowledging receipt of our December 14th, 2016 financial report dated November 30th, 2016.
Mr. Mayor, I so move that we acknowledge that receipt.
Second.
Josephine?
It's the November 30th report that was sent out on December 14th. I just want to make clear so that we don't have December here.
Okay.
We got
Okay,
it.
how about I say this, acknowledging receipt that on December 14th, 2016, we received the financial report dated November 30th, 2016.
Perfecto.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is the election of council officers, and I'll ask at this time if there's any nominations for the president of council.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to nominate Nick Molnar for president of council.
Second.
We have a motion, second. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. Could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bilkey,
Yes.
Mr. Engel,
Yes.
Ms. Hannikin,
No.
Mr. Molnar,
Yes.
and Ms. Tully.
Yes.
Okay, the motion's carried. Congratulations, Mr. Monar. You're again council president.
Thank you.
Is there any other is there any nominations for vice president?
I nominate Kevin Bilkey.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Are there any other nominations for vice president? Lastly, is there any other nominations for vice president? Okay, hearing none, could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bilkey,
Yes.
Mr. Engel,
Yes.
Ms. Hannikin,
No.
Mr. Molnar,
Yes.
and Ms. Tully.
Yes.
Okay, congratulations, Kevin. You're the vice president of council. The next is a council representative to the Parks and Recreation Committee. Do we have any nominations?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to nominate Kevin Bilkey to be the council representative to Parks and Rec.
Second.
Okay, are there any other nominations to the Parks and Recs Board? Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, could we have a roll call?
Mr. Bilkey,
Yes.
Mr. Engel,
Yes.
Ms. Hannikin,
Yes.
Mr. Molnar,
Yes.
and Ms. Tully.
Yes.
Okay, the motion's carried, and congratulations, Kevin. You got a couple jobs on your hand. Next item on the agenda is the finance chair. Is there any nomination for the finance chair?
I would nominate Mrs. Tully.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any other nominations? Finally, is there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, could we have a roll call?
Mr.
Yes.
Bilkey?
Sorry,
Mr.
yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar,
Yes.
And Ms. Tully?
Yes.
Okay, the motion's carried, and congratulations, Jan, you're Chair of the Finance Committee again. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a proclamation, Macedonia School Choice Week, January 22nd through the 28th, 2017, and I'm going to read the proclamation from the Office of the Mayor. Whereas all children in Macedonia should have access to the highest quality education possible, and whereas Macedonia recognizes the important role that an effective education plays in preparing all students in Macedonia to be successful adults, and whereas quality education is critically important to the economic vitality of Macedonia, and whereas Macedonia is the home to a variety of high-quality public and non-public schools from which parents can choose for their children, in addition to families who educate their children in the home. And whereas educational variety not only helps to diversify our economy, but also enhances the vibrancy of our community. Whereas Macedonia has many high-quality teaching professionals in all types of schools settings who are committed to educating our children. Whereas School Choice Week is celebrated across the country by millions of students, parents, educators, schools, and organizations to raise awareness of the need for effective educational options. Now therefore, I, Joseph Miglerini, Mayor of the City of Macedonia, do hereby recognize January 22nd through the 28th, 2017 as Macedonia School Choice Week, and I call this observance to the attention of all of our citizens. Signed this date. Okay. Next item would be public comments. I have two on here. Kathy Loya. Kathy, I just asked that you step forward and just state your name and address.
Sure. Thank you very much. Good evening. Happy New Year, everybody. My name is Kathy Loya. I live at 9186 North Bedford Road. Over the past decade, my husband and I have stood at this microphone to address City Council and also the Mayor regarding stormwater situations that we've had on our property. Since January of 2015, I've taken a more active role at this microphone speaking, some may say complaining, about the stormwater situation in hopes that one day maybe a solution could be reached regarding our continued stormwater issues. I now believe that there is absolutely no hope of any resolution to my stormwater situation. The City of Macedonia no longer even takes responsibility for the issue of stormwater in the Ledge Road and North Bedford area. It's now a regional issue under the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District to investigate through their stormwater management program. In fact, NURSD started a new study of our area in the summer of 2016, due for completion in 2018. My husband and I have even been told by current and past council members that we don't even have a stormwater problem at our property. I assume that it's all just a figment of my imagination. The annual bill for flood insurance that I now am required to have on my property because of our changed and elevated floodplain status since the redrawing of maps in 2009 must be a figment of my imagination. Or the times that I open up the curtains in the morning to look out and see the back third of my yard completely submerged under varying depths of water must also be a figment of my imagination, like this morning, for instance. I'm sure my property is not the only one. The worry that I had about electrocution, because my basement was filled floor to ceiling with water, thus completely submerging my circuit breaker, along with everything else when I still had power in my home. Again, that was a figment of my imagination. And then waking up one morning to a clanking noise from the furnace, only to realize that 3.5 to 4 feet of water was in my basement. The furnace was clinking because it was starting to seep into the furnace. Again, that must have just been a figment of my imagination. But what is not a figment of my imagination is that home still standing at 883 Iroquois Run. Why in the world is that house still standing? We were told that that house and property had to be purchased from private residents by the city with our tax dollars because the stormwater situation was just so bad for those property owners with water running off the ledges. We were also told that that property was to be made into a retention area, and that there was no time to waste on a study of how retention added to that area might benefit it. If this was truly the original intent of purchasing the property, then why wasn't money budgeted for all of this? And now I understand that the city is seeking outside funds to cover the cost of the demolition. I have to say, I believe it is preposterous and absurd to go after monies from the Summit County Land Bank for this demolition. One of the missions of the Summit County Land Bank is to reduce blight. How can the city of Macedonia go after monies when they are the entity that caused the blighted situation on that property? The home has been vacant and abandoned for over a year under city ownership. With no electricity servicing that home, thus no operating pumps to pump out any water, boy, what a mess that could be. I know if my home didn't have any operating pumps, I sure would be in a mess too. Find the money, get the home knocked down, and put retention in, just like you promised. The city felt it was so important to purchase the property, then you guys come up with the money and get it done. Other residents in the city of Macedonia have stormwater issues too, and what a slap in the face it is to see that house still standing after all this time when we were told how horrible the situation was. Maybe what council should have done way back when in 2015 when the home was purchased was use that $50,000 wasted on the North Bedford and ledge drainage study to demolish that home and put retention in instead. Had this been done, the city would actually have something to show the taxpayers of what that $50,000 went for, because nothing's been said about the North Bedford and ledge drainage study that GPD completed in January of 2016. On to another topic. The engineer's report in the Messenger from this month indicated that OPWC money or funding came in for Northfield Village in Macedonia for the repaving and the Ledge Road project. Yippee, Ledge Road is going to be fixed. I know what that means for me. The same thing that it's meant over the past 10 years when development or paving is done on ledge, freeway drives, I-271, more stormwater to my property, and even faster. I know my role as the retention area of stormwater runoff for this area. There's no need to seek locations elsewhere in the area for retention because I believe that we service the city well. We hold the water, and it filters under North Bedford and continues in Indian Creek until it can travel south through the rest of the city. Our land does what it's designed to do and recognized as such by FEMA as in an AE flood zone. Not to worry that houses and families are there, of course. I only hope that the city will at least have the courtesy to coordinate with NEORSD on the Ledge Road project regarding the stormwater study previously mentioned. We wouldn't want to see yet another study done on the Ledge in North Bedford area. So in closing, please try to filter through my cynicism and understand my frustration about this. I don't know how to address this hopeless situation anymore without being cynical. I'm so tired of being lied to about how the city and council are concerned about our stormwater situation and that that you want to do something about it. Please, I'm just so tired of hearing about it. Just let's try something new here in 2017. Just be honest and no more games. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Kathy. And I'll comment on that when I get to Mayor's report to help fill in some of the questions that you had. Next, Tracy Ruggiero. I should have known.
Hi, my name is Tracy Ruggiero. I've lived in Macedonia since 1993. The first time I spoke at a council meeting was back on November 10th, 2016. Since then, I have received what I perceive to be a threatening and intimidating letter from a council member warning me that, quote, I will take further action if you continue to make false statements concerning my conduct and actions. So I am here today to ask that council member, Sylvia Hannigan, what further actions are you referring to?
Tracy, I've been advised, because I'm a public figure, that in order to take any action against false statements made about me, that I first have to inform the person who made those false statements that those statements are false. And if they continue to be stated, which it says in that letter, then that's when I can take action. So that is simply what I said. I did not say I would take legal action. I was simply going through the phase of letting you know what the information is that's correct and what is not correct. That's all that is.
And what is correct and what is not correct is based on your opinion and my
Well,
opinion.
based on facts and my opinion about those facts, that's correct.
Okay, well, I'm getting off topic here. You're an elected official.
Right.
As an elected official, your words and actions, or non-actions for that matter, with
Mhm.
regards to the city and the residents are open for public scrutiny.
Right.
Right. So what I said in that meeting was how I view how you are acting or
Mhm.
how you are non-acting or boycotting,
Right.
so to speak. Certain things
And I
happening in
didn't
the city.
comment on those things. I only
Right.
commented on what
But-
you stated as fact.
But some of the things that you put in that letter, which I will give,
Right. I'd be happy to send it to everybody on council.
oh, no problem, I
Yeah.
will give it to her
Right.
and to Josephine, and she will take care of that. My speech was not malicious, my speech was not slanderous, it was not personal, and it was not offensive. It is my right to voice my opinion and concerns of what I see is going on in this city. An example of that just happened just now. The mayor had asked about if anyone else wanted to be appointed to president or vice president. And he asked if anyone else wanted to nominate anybody. And no one spoke up.
Yes.
But yet, when we do the roll call, you say no.
Mhm.
So if you didn't want Mr. Molnar or Mr. Bilkey to take those positions, why didn't you speak up and nominate someone else who obviously you feel can fit those positions better?
The reason I didn't is there's absolutely no chance it would be wasting time. There's no chance that anything that I would say about this would have any effect whatsoever. It was already decided when we got in the meeting, in the work session. I think you're aware of that. So,
But it could go on record as you at least making a,
well, I could do that. I chose not to waste the time of everybody.
okay. So, do you think that these actions will help you get reelected? By sending a letter like that to me and,
The attempt is not to do anything other than to what I was advised to do, which is to, when I'm a public official, I need to inform someone that their statements are false. If I don't do that, then what I'm doing then is I'm allowing these to continue, and I can't really take any action because of them. That's why I did that. And I didn't threaten to sue you. I didn't do anything like that, although other people have been threatened to sue all over the place. I was trying to let you know what the facts are. I'd make no comment on your opinion of me. Clearly, that is a different issue, and you have a right to any opinion of me that you wish to have.
you do know that everything that I said at that meeting, in that speech, I feel as being truth.
Well,
mean,
that's
I
why
will
I'm
not-
letting you know. I assumed that. I assumed you weren't
Right.
trying to state something false, and what I was doing was kind of assisting you by saying, these are not true. These are false.
But
That was
again-
all I did.
Okay, but that again, I perceive as your opinion as to what is the truth and
Well,
what's not the truth.
I had facts to support my opinion.
You didn't give me facts to support that.
Well, okay,
Just
that's your,
stating your.
you may do
opinion
whatever
is
you
not
wish to do,
facts.
Tracy. I'm just letting you know why I did this. You asked me that, and I told you.
I'm curious as to know how many other residents you might have sent letters like that to.
None. Zero.
Now, I would like to ask council, is this a conduct that you guys perceive as acceptable? Do you
I would
guys,
say no.
do you send out letters to other residents who stand up here and might say something against things that you believe or actions that you've done?
As the number one victim, I guess I would call myself, but I never play the victim. I've been attacked on many levels regarding my previous employment, of which there's more coming, and guess who's involved in it, but we'll leave that alone for the time being. It's a constant playing of victim. You know, we come attacked by many people up here. There was a gentleman that came up here that I had never said one word to in my life, and he proceeded to berate me on every level he could think of. I didn't send him a letter telling him I'm going to sue you, and that's part of the problem with society today in general, and kind of some of the things that are happening with Ms. Hannikin, is that everyone's just sue happy. Well, I don't like what you said, I'm gonna sue you. And what world are we living in? And I'm very upset when I found out that she did send you that letter. And as a matter of fact, Mr. Bilkey said in the work session that he's gonna make a motion to censure her this evening. And part of that censure, which I may or add to it, is what she has done to you.
Well, I appreciate that, thank you. I have a question. You said you were told by counsel of some sort. Was it the city council that told you about?
No, I'm talking about legal counsel.
Okay, legal counsel.
I had no involvement in that.
No, of course not.
Okay, maybe Mr. Engel was your legal counsel then.
You're asking me if I'm Sylvia's legal counsel. I'm not.
Did you counsel her on that action?
I never talked to her about it, so I didn't counsel her as a friend, as a council member, or an attorney, because I'm not her attorney.
Okay, I was just clarifying that.
I don't know why you even asked me that question.
Well, I believe, haven't you represented her for something else?
No, I've never represented her in anything.
It's true, he hasn't.
Yes, he does.
Well, and I've never been her attorney.
Yes, you were.
Yes,
what?
you were.
For what?
She's got it right there.
For what?
I apologize, I didn't think I was going to need to get it out.
For the resident's letter,
What was it?
for the resident's letter saying that you're in violation of the mandamus by not terminating Scott Swab.
Oh, no, he wasn't my attorney for that either. That was, I filed on my own behalf.
Right.
That is false. I filed on my own. I filed my own motions on that. And if you want to know that, I can get it right off of the internet because it's in the court records.
My last statement.
Just for the record, if you check the court record, if you're talking about the lawsuit when the city sued members of council, I was not her attorney of record. And Mr. Gadetti can confirm that.
Yeah, we can take a look at the docket to clarify it.
Okay.
Would you clarify it next week then, or at the next meeting?
Sure.
Since you can't.
So I would like to actually ask, once again, like I did on the November 10th meeting, Sylvia Hannikin to step down from council. If she would not resign, I would like the rest of the council to step up and do what's right for the city and remove her from council. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number, I'm sorry, pending and or new legislation. Ordinance number 1, 2017.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 1, 2017, for its first, second, and third reading by title only, please.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion's carried.
An emergency ordinance establishing the compensation schedule for non-union city employees of Macedonia effective January 1, 2017. That Macedonia doesn't need one.
You've heard the reading?
Mr. Mayor, I'd ask that we pass and post according to law, ordinance number 1, 2017, please.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2, 2017.
Mr. Mayor, I move to offer ordinance number 2-2017 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. James, are you here in the room? James Carvey? There he is.
Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, would you read it?
An ordinance confirming the appointment by the mayor of James Garvey to the position of full-time firefighter or paramedic in the city of Macedonia.
Okay, James, how are you doing? Would you like to introduce your family?
Sure. This is my mom, Diana. This is my dad, Jim.
Great.
He's ready with the 10-minute speech.
Well, yeah, we
Yeah, you
normally
gotta
ask for about a
speech.
10-minute speech, but I know the chief would probably like to say something.
I would. Jim did very well in our civil service test. We have quite a barrage, as I've mentioned in the past, of
tests that we put everybody through. It starts out with a physical agility test to be able to even get into, take the written test. Jim was number 2 on our list. We're very happy with that. He is with Cleveland EMS right now and will be coming to us full-time as of tonight, right now. And he has lots of experience in the field, obviously, coming from where he comes from. And he just blew through all of our testing, did outstanding, and was highly recommended by all of our testing, third-party testing facilities. So we're very happy to have him here.
Great.
Is there anyone else that came to support you?
Yeah, I have my 2 friends, Eric and Ken.
They're not your just only 2 friends. Oh, they're best friends, okay.
Hey, Chief, is part of that test dunking a basketball? Because
No, that would be football for Kent State, I believe, correct?
very nice.
Yeah, great. Okay.
Got a picture for the Padres?
Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I gotta say.
Now he's gonna offer.
Yeah, I have to offer it.
Oh, you have an offer?
I have not. Mr. Mayor, I move to offer ordinance number 2, 2017, the same according to law.
Second.
Do we have a motion and a second? Are there any questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried. Welcome. Once we get past the next one, we're going to call you up, and I'm going to swear both of you in at the same time. Brian, the next one is ordinance number 3,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 3, 2017 for first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
Do we have a motion and a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
An ordinance confirming the appointment by the mayor of Brian Friend to the position of full-time firefighter paramedic in the city of Macedonia.
Okay, you've heard the reading?
I move that we pass and post ordinance 3, 2017 according to law.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Brian, are you here? Brian, would you like to introduce your family?
Of course.
And friends?
My father, Pat, and my mother, Jeanette.
Okay.
Family friend, Heather, and my stepmother, Jen. And then I have my part-time fire chief back here.
Great, great. Chief, would you like to say some?
Yeah, Brian comes from a family of firefighter paramedics in the area. He's on Copley as a part-time firefighter, is number 4 on our test. Again, went right through our testing, was highly recommended. As a matter of fact, one of his references, Chief Benson, actually came here tonight. So he gave him obviously an excellent reference, and it's an honor to have Mike here come up for the swearing in of Brian.
Great, great. Okay, you've heard the reading. What is your pleasure? I'm sorry. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. And again, Brian. Brian and Jim, would you step forward here? I'm going to swear you both in. You guys come around this way. And then you guys don't make me look too small.
Stand next to me.
I'm going to stand over here. I just ask that when I say your I, you say your name.
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I,
Brian Friend.
do solemnly swear and affirm that I shall uphold and support the word and spirit of the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the State of Ohio, all laws of the federal and state, the charter, ordinances, and resolutions of the City of Macedonia, and that I shall faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge my duties as full-time firefighter paramedic during my term of office as I shall answer to God. So help me God. I do. Congratulations. Family like to come forward and
Pin on their badges?
They're big pins, so you can see it.
I'll take the mayor.
Thank you, guys. Welcome aboard.
The good stuff. The good stuff.
We also have trustee Rich Ravel here from Northfield Center. Rich, those are your new men.
That's what I heard. It's good.
Oh,
Okay. Next item is ordinance number 4, 2017.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 4, 2017 for its first, second, and third reading by title only, please.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance confirming the appointment by the mayor of Laura Buto to the position of full-time administrative assistant within the City of Macedonia Service Department.
Okay, you've heard the reading.
Mr. Mayor, I'd ask that we pass and post according to law ordinance number 4, 2017, please.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is a resolution confirming the appointment, which is resolution number 5.
Now for resolution number 5, 2017 for first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
A resolution confirming the appointment of Robin Baginski to the City of Macedonia Audit Committee effective immediately.
You've heard the reading.
Move that we pass and post according to law resolution 5, 2017.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 6, 2017.
Mr. Mayor, I move to offer ordinance number 6, 2017 for its first reading by title only.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a subscription agreement with Wellright LLC to provide a wellness program for full-time city employees.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 7, 2017.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 7, 2017 for its first reading by title only, please.
An ordinance amending section 16120 of the codified ordinances of the City of Macedonia, Ohio, relative to employee health care.
Okay, next item on the agenda is ordinance number 8.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 8, 2017 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
An emergency ordinance amending section 16115F of the codified ordinances of the City of Macedonia, Ohio, relative to education reimbursement.
Okay, you've heard the reading.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that we pass and post ordinance number 8, 2017 according to law.
Second.
You have a motion second. Are there any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 9.
Mr. Mayor, I move to offer ordinance number 9, 2017 for its first reading by title only.
An emergency ordinance amending ordinance number 63, 2010, relative to billing for the services of a municipal water system, a utility of the City of Macedonia, Ohio, distributing City of Cleveland Water.
Okay, next item on the agenda is ordinance number 10.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 10, 2017 for a first reading by title only.
Okay.
An ordinance authorizing the imposition of a charge of $3 per month per residential unit for the City of Macedonia leaf removal program.
Okay, next item on the agenda is ordinance number 11.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 11, 2017 for its first reading by title only, please.
An emergency ordinance amending sections 18201B and 18204A of the codified ordinances of the City of Macedonia, Ohio, in order to increase the city's income tax rate to 1/4% starting July 1, 2017, and continuing thereafter for the road improvements and stormwater projects, and submitting the same to the electors May 2nd, 2017.
I would ask council, I just passed out a piece of legislation that actually talks about it going to 0.5% more as opposed to the 1/4%. I'd ask that council put this on the agenda and waive the rule that it be in its possession for more than 24 hours.
So made.
Why don't we just amend the one we just read?
Yes.
And substitute?
Could do that.
Yeah, I
You
don't
can do that
understand.
as well?
Sure.
Yes.
Of course.
And then, otherwise, you're gonna have two on. You're gonna have the
Right.
1/4% and the 0.5%.
Right.
so.
Right.
Or can you substitute this one for that one?
We'll amend the one we just read and substitute this one.
Okay.
and
To
then we're
conform,
good.
right.
Right.
It's an
To
addition.
conform
If we do
with.
that.
Yes.
Okay. So do we have so moved? Motion moved?
So moved.
And
Second.
seconded?
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's
So
carried.
this is now ordinance number 11?
Yes.
No, this
Correct.
is
Yeah.
12.
That's read into the records?
Yes.
No, that isn't ordinance
this
number
was
11.
12.
What we had originally was,
No, this is what we just amended it, is that what we're saying?
Right.
Yeah, amended.
Amended to
Ordinance
conform.
11 that was just
we
received as
amended
first
it
read was
before we've
amended.
even had a discussion about this?
We amended it so that it reflected the one that I just passed out, which would have indicated for the 0.5%. Now, you can always massage and do whatever you want to do with it. Just wanted to get this on the table.
So this is not an additional ordinance. It is replacing
Correct.
11. Okay.
Are there any other motions or other legislative actions by council at this time?
Yes, Mayor, I make a motion authorizing the finance director to accept on behalf of the City of Macedonia a donation of $100 to the K-9 Donation Revenue Fund from Shirley Folks of Macedonia, Ohio.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried. Any other motions?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion and also make a statement first. This is the last time I'll be talking about this piece of pamphlet that was handed out. But I think that it warrants one last little piece of item. Basically, issue 18 was about our roads, and this piece of literature basically told you to vote no. And it said, these are the facts, please vote no. Well, unfortunately, I've championed the cause to prove that these are not the facts. If anyone here on council does not see that, then, I don't understand it. That we don't have $850,000 more. It says it right here that we would. And we've asked and asked where this money comes from, and it comes from a hypothetical situation if we would have followed a plan that wasn't even considered. NORSD for stormwater. Well, that's been examined. Talk to anyone to the ORNSD, they will tell you for sure that that money is not intended for any road paving or related stormwater issues. But the big one is that it said that our operation expenses was going up 14% in 2016. And, before that, I call on Rhonda, it was, 6.23 was the final number? So these are not the facts, and we can't let this go. And unfortunately, it was a councilwoman that helped distribute this. And she took ownership of it, and then in the back room, she said she didn't. She called me names, she said I was a bully. But unfortunately, I didn't distribute this. I was the one trying to say, hey, these are what we need to help our city. I put out information as it was a renewal because I was advised by city council, or the council of the city, Mark, that it was in fact a renewal. Now, if you wanted to call it a continuation, I would have been fine with that. But, a renewal and continuation mean the same thing. So if you're gonna say, it doesn't even matter. I'm gonna make a motion to censor Ms. Sylvia Heineken for basically putting out information that was misleading to the voters of Macedonia, and hopefully take ownership of it and apologize.
Okay, may I speak, please?
We have a motion first. I'm going to see if there's a second to that.
I want
motion.
to add to his motion in that what I had said earlier, that, when a resident comes up here to speak, and as I stated before, we're all victims of, whatever anybody wants to come and say, we have to take it. And I've taken it for years, and we've all had people that don't like us or have things to say about us. I'm okay with that. But I've never sent a letter to someone saying, if you do that again, I'm going to get you. And that is totally wrong in my mind, and I think it's wildly inappropriate. And anytime anyone goes to Ms. Hannikin and thinks differently than she does, there's no way. She's perfect, she's never wrong, she sits back and plays the victim. I'm personally tired of it. I'm tired of sitting up here talking about Sylvia Hannikin and all her misleading things and all things that go on and shuffling our feet in mud. The time has come to put a stop to it, folks. I agree with Mr. Bilkey 1,000%. This stuff has to stop. And I would add that, and I will second the motion.
May I speak now?
Yes, we have a motion and a second. You certainly can.
Okay. Once again, we have a situation where I'm asked to respond to something that I haven't seen. Number one. Number two, I, as a resident and just a human being, let me make the following observation. I did not threaten to sue anybody. I was advised by counsel that I had to correct any factual errors and what statements were made during anyone talking about me in public. Otherwise, I cannot take any further action. I was told that because the way the law sets, it has to be they're aware that the point of view and the facts do not coincide. Now, that's all I did. And I'm happy to provide everybody a copy of that letter. But it did not threaten anybody. It simply said, you are making false statements and you need to be aware of that. That was the point of the letter. It was very clear. And I went through exactly every statement, looked at the video of what she said, also looked at the details, made sure that I was responding to what was said. I did not criticize her for criticizing me. That is, I agree. If that were the case, then that would not be appropriate. I simply responded to, these are the facts, that, as you stated, things that were not correct, were false. I did not say that she knew they were false. The point was, she needed to be aware that they were false. That's all. As far as Mr. Molnar saying he never has done anything, now, Mr. Molnar, you know perfectly well that when another resident came up here and was highly critical of you, you spoke to him on the phone and threatened to unleash the beast, and among other things. And there was a recording of that, and nobody wanted to pursue that. I do not threaten anyone who is different, has a different opinion, and certainly no resident who has a different opinion. They can have any opinion about me and what I do or do not do. They're just not entitled to their own set of facts. And that's the only thing I did. I corrected it so she's aware that some of the statements, just like tonight when she was stating that Mr. Engel was my attorney in that lawsuit regarding that Mr. Bilkey originated and signed against the council members. And I represented myself with my own motions. And you can find that out on the internet. It doesn't have to come here. So he corrected that tonight appropriately. And I had not seen anything that she was going to say before she said it, so I had to respond post to what she said. So that's just it. I do not, let me just speak to what Kevin is talking about. I want to have an opportunity to see what is being said, and then I can respond. Otherwise, I'm sitting here with a surprise motion that I have not had a chance to even provide any counter or defense. So at this point, I just don't think this is appropriate. I've said so, and I don't think that this needs to go any further, but of course, he's made the motion, there's a second. So we need to go from here.
Let's be clear about something. We held a meeting in December and we called an executive session to speak to you about this, but in your arrogance, you decided not to come into that room. In that meeting, we talked about us censuring you. But because you're arrogant and you could not walk into that room, we were going to give you the opportunity to speak, but you chose not to. Secondly, unleash the beast. My God, I am so sick of hearing unleash the beast. You know, I said at the beginning of the Brown season, we're going to unleash the beast. Oh, that didn't work out so well. But if there's a recording of that, where is it? If I said that and I threatened someone, where is it? Let's talk facts. These are not the facts. This is what Kevin brought up tonight. We sat in a finance meeting this week and we said, Sylvia, where is the $850,000 more funds to be freed up in 2017 rec center and city hall bonds paid off in 2016? Silence. Nothing. Because it's all lies. We twist, we turn, we play the victim. We have to have the last jab. There's always a jab in there. All I'm saying is this. If you can't tell the truth, don't say anything. And with that, I call the question.
Can I add a statement? If that's okay?
Go ahead. I was going to add one, but go ahead.
I mean, we had a council meeting, our last council meeting. We went through point by point. So to say that you were blindsided by this is ridiculous. You at that meeting said, if we were at 2%, then we would have had the $850,000. But unfortunately, we are not at 2%. We are now going to be at 1.75. So you can't call it a fact by using hypothetical situation. I would be a millionaire if I won the lottery, but I'm not. So you can't say we would be there if we're not. And that's what I guess I have the biggest problem with, is that you disregard everybody else's opinion and you only used your own on this one. And we voted down your plan 4-1. And the reason why we did it, because it did not fund everything that needs fund. And you took that, rather than taking that as, maybe I should do something else, you took it as a stab, and it wasn't intended. We're here working, hopefully together, to figure out how we're supposed to solve all these problems, and you can't just throw everybody else's opinion out. So that's all I wanted to say, that we did talk about this at the last council meeting, and to say that you're blindsided again. And I also want to remind the rest of council that we have to vote. Basically, if these are the facts, then I expect you to vote no. I think it's been proven that these are not the facts, and you must vote yes to censor Ms. Heineken.
I just have a question of you, Sylvia. The paid for by citizens for Macedonia fiscal accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Is this your group?
It's a group I'm a member of.
You're a member of it? Did you draft and put this together?
No.
No?
No, it was a group
But
effort.
did you pass it out? Were you
Oh,
passing
yes,
this out?
the group passed it out,
Okay,
just
but
not
you were
just me.
passing these out in mailboxes throughout our city, correct?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I was part of the
Do you
group.
acknowledge that you, as an elected representative of this city, that you have knowledge more than others do that are out in the community, or should have?
Well, let me put it this way. I do have more knowledge than the average member of the community. I'm not arguing that. I'm arguing that this is a situation where once again, we have come to the fore with a motion to censure without telling me in advance that was going to happen and providing me the argument. That's all I'm saying tonight.
You did in the executive session say this might be an action.
Well, here's the following thing. You're not supposed to be talking about what's going on in executive session, number one. You're talking on the floor.
They just generally brought up the subject.
And number two, the reason that there have been so many conflicts is that there's really no basic dialogue. There's a one-way street, as we saw tonight. Mr. Engel and I are once again in the minority here, and there's no attempt even to try to integrate us into any kind of thinking or plan. I mean, that's clear. So you're going to go ahead. Please go ahead. Let's call the motion.
But it's
call the question.
interesting that before Mr. Bilkey came on, you were in the majority, and my voice and Mr. Molnar's voice was never allowed to be heard.
Well,
So,
that is untrue, Jan, but let's go ahead.
okay.
All right, we're going to have a roll call, but I just need to
All right.
ask one more question, and we're going to have a roll call. And just bear with me because, you know, as the administrator of the city, as the mayor of the city, and knowing the financial condition of the city,
Right.
I take great exception when things are put out in the community that are not true. And therefore, we have gone to the ballot twice and we have failed twice because of misleading statements, lies to the community as it
Okay.
relates to this brochure here. So,
Okay.
we admittedly know that our city department operations spending across the board did not go up by 14%. We approved that by.
You appropriated 14% more. That's what happened. That's why the plan went out that way. You know that, Mr. Mayor. You know it. You didn't execute to the appropriations. You only increased
Sylvia,
by
I'm only reading
7%.
what was put out to the general public. You can say yea or nay when I make this.
That
statement.
was the appropriations we
City department
passed.
operations spending across the board, except roads, went up 14%.
Correct.
Was that in fact something that you put out to the community?
It is in fact true.
Is it, you know it's not true. We had a finance committee meeting that said it was.
Well,
6.32%.
at the point, listen to me, you appropriated
Does it say
14% more.
appropriation here?
You agreed to spend 14% more. This is all nonsense.
Do you believe that it's misleading?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Okay, that's
And
your opinion.
Well, of course it's my opinion,
Okay.
otherwise I wouldn't
Well,
have agreed
I
to.
would I'll let the judge and jury be the citizens of Macedonia.
I think that we're going to have the same thing we had before. There won't be a discussion. There'll be, you're going to give a speech about how we have to
Okay.
have every bit of money we
Okay,
have.
Sylvia, I've given
Okay.
you the floor and let you speak. I just.
Okay, I'm
just
stopping. Let's
Okay.
call the question.
That is and here's the next sentence in here. It says, that is the exact same 1.5 million diverted from roads. Now,
Mhm.
what $1.5 million was diverted from roads?
You agreed to spend that much more money in operations over the previous year. That was in the
That
appropriations.
didn't occur though, did it?
Well, I'm sorry, but you appropriated it that way, and we had the numbers to show you did.
Listen, council approved the budget. We offered a
We-
budget, council approved it.
yes, that's correct.
And what was included in there, which you have failed to show, was that there was new firemen in there were capital improvements, there were other things, and that increase, by the way, was only 6.32%.
No, it was not. It was not, Mr. Mayor.
Excuse me.
It is factual
Finance-
to say we appropriated.
Can I call on our finance director?
No, sir, we've gone through this over and over. You can do that, we're wasting time.
We're trying to get to the facts.
Get down to the bottom of the issue.
No, you're not.
I'm calling on our finance director, who is a certified public accountant.
I agree.
who we brought on, who is very educated in this field.
I agree.
Please, Rhonda.
Our final tally for the department spending that has been touted around, and what that means is it's the departments and their operations only from the various funds. We actually increased our spending this year by 6.32%.
Not 14.
Not 14.
Yes, but we appropriated at 14% more. That's what I've said, Rhonda, constantly.
2015's
And when you
appropriations
certify the
were increased by
resources
14.4%.
to the county, when you certify those resources, if you spend it here, you can't spend it there.
Could you
That's the
let-
fact.
Could you let Ms. Hall please finish her statement before you interrupt? Mr. Bilkin, hold on.
It's, you
Tell
said.
us about 2015.
Let's move, let's call the question. We
No.
don't need to dwell
Go
on
ahead,
this.
Rhonda, please.
2015's actual appropriations were increased by over 14%. The actual spending at the end of the year was 2.42%. Our increase in spending, and I created the budget based on last year's budget, was by 13.3%, and then we actually spent 6.32%.
In comparison, Rhonda, if I may say, in comparison, talking only about the operations budget, it was less than 1% more.
It was 3.42%.
Yeah, but that's the total budget, and that's
No,
because we were
just
paying
the
for roads.
operations and the
See,
departments and their operations.
They're your numbers, Rhonda.
And I'm explaining them, they're exactly 2.42%.
You know, the point we're trying to make here, Sylvia, if you would please bear with us, is that this propaganda that was put out to our community caused the failure twice before the voters. Because, you know, it's easy to go out to the voters and say, the city's lying to you. They really got more money than they're telling you about.
Oh, it says it right there, actually.
Yeah, the city is telling us there is no money for roads. Sylvia, is there money for roads?
We haven't appropriated this year yet, so we don't know whether there is. You have said and have chosen to appropriate in a way that I want to explain to everybody in Macedonia. Money coming in is generally not dedicated. There are some dedicated funds, but the vast majority of the money coming in can be appropriated to operations, or it can be appropriated to capital investment.
We've gone through 2 finance committee meetings. The bottom line is that there's $1.5 million carryover, 1.5
I agree.
million carryover, and that was because of the frugalness of this.
That's because we didn't spend what we appropriated.
Because we were frugal, because we knew.
Could you
No.
stop grabbing the microphone, please? It's killing my ears. I'm sorry.
And this is going to be a part of my mayor's report as well, but
Yeah, really.
$275,000 in income tax by net profits are not being paid. We were $550,000 by local government fund. So by the end of 2017, we will be at probably less than, or close to about $600,000 carryover if we spend the way we're supposed to spend.
And that is with zero capital
And that's with
projects.
zero capital improvements in 2016 and $140,000 in 2017. What can you do with $140,000?
You can't do anything with 140.
You can't do anything.
But that is an assumption you're making that we're going to pass the budget and appropriations.
It's no assumption, it's fact.
Well,
Okay,
no.
We'll call a roll call at this time, please.
Mr. Bilkey?
Without a doubt, it's misleading. Obviously, if we can't agree, it's misleading in nature to say that we have money that we don't. So I vote yes.
Mr. Engel?
Oh, the political drama continues. Mr. Bilkey says we want to work together, but we continue to rehash, and we've been through this 2 or 3 times before, and we're going to continue again. Albert Einstein once said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, and then being surprised at the outcome. We're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and we're going to be surprised by the outcome. All we do is argue about the same thing. The levy has been voted down twice. Now it's back again. We had 1 finance committee meeting, which was an hour and a half. We haven't discussed anything in detail. We haven't even done the budget for this year, and we're going back saying we have to have a special election for a tax levy.
It's not a special.
You're right, it's not a special, but at the primary in May. And I apologize that I misstated that, but it's the same thing, over and over and over, and we're going to be surprised at the outcome. I vote no. It's good political drama, but it's not good for the city. We're not working for the city at this point.
You're right about that, Dave.
Thank you.
Ms. Hannigan?
She can't vote.
Oh, sorry for that. Mr. Molnar?
You know, doing the same thing over and over is absolutely right. It's spinning your wheels in mud, spinning the truth, and confusing everyone. One thing resonates with me this evening that I hope you all took from this. She's smarter than all of you. She said it tonight. Remember that. This is your councilwoman who represents you. She knows more than all of you. I'm no better than any of you, and I'm no smarter than any of you, and I think I'm an average guy that does my best to do what we can for the city. I don't want our roads to go to dirt. I don't want our roads to continue to deteriorate. Our concerns are basically keeping the city afloat and paving the roads. We would listen to more of what Ms. Hannigan had to say if she would compromise. There's no compromise. As Kevin stated earlier, her plan was failed 4-1. 4-1. Including Mr. Engel, her friend, said, no, I'm not going to support that. So because of that, that brought on that little pamphlet that was passed out around town. There's no compromise. There will continue to be no compromise. If it's not Sylvia's idea, it's not right for us. She lost for mayor twice, and believe me, she's showing it. I hate to say that. I don't want to ever take jabs like that, but she's showing it. She's telling you, I know what's best for this community, but this community has told her twice, no, you don't. I absolutely vote yes, and I hope in the future, and I hope in 2017, there's at least an effort to compromise. No more spinning the wheels in mud, having 12 meetings, sitting in the back room for 4 hours, talking about things, and when we walk out, we go, what did we just do? Here's the options. What can we do? What's it going to take to move this community forward? It's that simple. Period.
Ms. Tully? I think what appalls me most tonight, the false literature I'm kind of got used to after seeing the mayoral election, and I called the people that were running on it, but more so that you wrote a letter to a resident who came to speak their mind. I've been on this council 19 years. I've been sworn at, I've been yelled at, I've been threatened, but you don't write to them in a rebuttal. You have to be above and recognize that that's just part of being a, and get ready for this, public servant. We're public servants. We serve you. We don't serve our internal, I'm right, you're wrong. Compromise. There was a council member and I that used to battle. But at the end of the day, we always came to a compromise. And we always decided what was best for the residents. It wasn't what I was going to get out of it. It wasn't for me to go home and say, this is it. I am appalled that you wrote that letter.
Have you read the letter?
I am just appalled. It's not your time to speak, please. You've already had enough to say. And Mr. Engel, you sit there and smirk. You think it's okay to write a letter to a resident saying, stop, you're wrong, take it off, don't say anything? You think it's, after all the years we've spent on council together, I find it deplorable that any one of these, I have never met a council member with all the ones I've served with that have ever done that.
Do I get the answer?
No. I'm asking you why you're smirking and you're over there laughing.
I'm smirking
What I'm
because
saying
this
is
is
not
ridiculous.
funny. What I'm saying is
It isn't.
truth.
But you asked me a question, and now can I respond or not?
No, because it was a rhetorical question that everybody can see you over there smirking.
Okay, the point of order is you gotta take the last.
Yes. The other thing is the information that was put out. You'll find it interesting that when we went to talk about it during the finance meeting, Ms. Hannikin has been ill, suddenly had to get up and leave. We never did get to talk about the mysterious $800,000. But Ms. Hannikin was in attendance the night before at the Planning Commission meeting.
I was.
What I'd like to do, and I have challenged this council at the finance meeting, is to knock off the egos and put them at the door. When we put the proposals together at the finance meeting, they were anonymous. Why? This is why. I absolutely vote yes to censure.
Okay, the motion's carried. Dave, did you want to respond?
I've never written a letter to any individual. I may have responded to emails to answer questions. I've done that. But, I'm an attorney, and, I suppose that jades my whole outlook on life. There are certain requirements, and if someone has sought legal counsel and that's their advice, I'm not going to criticize them for following legal counsel. I think that there's a big difference between what we do here in our public activity or our obligations and what we do outside of our public activities or obligations. And certainly if a resident receives a letter or an email from a council member and they're unhappy, they're certainly they can raise that issue, but I don't think that becomes a thing that's sanctionable for council. I think that's a thing that's really handled at the ballot box. That's all I would have to say.
Why were you smiling?
Because
You didn't
I
answer
find
that
this whole
question.
thing a waste of time, totally ridiculous, and I'm sorry that I smile. I will, next time, come with the biggest frown on my face, and you can check it out whenever you want to, Jan.
Dave, the only comment that I would have at this time is, we had an executive session, and without getting into all the details, when we were...
Well, we shouldn't even be talking about this.
Well, but here's the thing. I need to talk about it because you were a part and parcel of that discussion, and the fact that council wanted to censure Sylvia back, a couple meetings back. And you indicated you would talk to Sylvia and see whether or not you could get her to reason. And unfortunately, you never came back with any answer to that. But you admittedly have to say that the information that was put out is incorrect.
I think the information put out is not incorrect. I think it's open. May I complete?
Okay, go ahead.
Before everybody jumps on my throat, I think it's open to interpretation. I think the 14% appropriated, or we were going to spend, I don't know the language because I haven't read the thing in a long time. I think that's very much open to, you can interpret it either way, and unfortunately, it becomes the old liar's figure and figure's liar, and it's just however you want to interpret it. I don't think it's an a false statement. I think it's, as many things that are sent out to voters, both by people who are running for election, groups that are trying to influence election, you can interpret any way you want to. And with that, I'm going to say we should stop the political drama and try to get back to work and solve the problems of a very fine city.
Yeah, and I so agree with you, Dave. I think that we should be on track and we should be unified up here as a council and mayor. And we should be putting our oars in the water together collectively and moving in that direction. But unfortunately, not all of us are doing so.
But we continue going back to what happened this year, last year, and the years before. Mayor, we can disagree and agree to disagree, but, you know, if you go back and and bring up everything, and I've noticed that from my 16 years of council, that people in Macedonia, people on council, mayors, they have a very good memory, and they can't forgive or forget any slight. And you know, if our citizens, if our country was the same way, we'd still be fighting the Civil War. And you know, you got to put it behind you. You got to understand that there were mistakes made on whatever side of mistakes. You have to forgive. You have to move forward. And as long as we continue to just slather ourselves with all this past history, nothing's going to be accomplished. And I'm not going to say anything more about this.
All right. And the only final statement I'll say is that my heart is trying to make this city move forward. I didn't run for this office just to be sitting here and not being affected. And when I see somebody putting out information that is misleading, and it's basically a lie in my opinion, then I cannot condone it. And I will do everything in my power as mayor to educate the general public as to the truth of these matters, because it affects each and every resident of this community. I don't think you guys know the ramifications of not getting your roads repaired, not operating a city where we can't even give out raises this year to any of our employees. Isn't that pretty bad? Well, I guess.
I didn't get a raise.
Well.
Why do you keep looking at me when you're saying?
Well, because you were making gestures, so I thought I would.
You were smirking, Mr.
Yeah.
Since I made the motion, I'll have the last say on
You know
it.
what I see? My opinion? I see a bunch of victories. It gets nowhere.
Yep.
Okay?
Well, you might be right.
A mayor who came back, which I don't understand why. Okay? I don't understand why. You're pretty well done out with your life, right?
I did.
I see a lot of bickering. You're picking on one person, and you
know, she put out the flyers. We're not picking it.
You need to stop.
You need to stop. I'm on council.
We're really not at public comment right now.
Okay,
So
all
let's
right.
move on.
Point of order. All right, we're going to move
since I
on.
made the motion, I do want to say that I did do the research, and you can ask Rhonda. the hours I spent saying, are these numbers right? And we collectively came up with like, they're not even close. So you.
All right. We beat this one up. We're gone. We're moving on. Thank you.
I think it's sad that this is just another example of you won't let another person present a different theory.
How is that, Dave?
May I finish? A different theory or a different opinion. You just scream people down. So that's all that needs to be said.
How did I do that, Dave? I don't
Well, you and the mayor just screamed. I don't even know this man's name. What's your name, sir?
Richard Seuss.
Is it point of his time to talk? During
No, he was talking, and then you guys jumped in and screamed
I
at
just
him.
don't think that it's his time.
Excuse me, sir, we are not public comment.
The point of order. Point of order. We're sorry, we're sorry, Mr. Seuss. We're sorry.
But it's not about the levy, it's about the information that she put out.
Kevin,
We know what your position with the mayor is. He knows soon as says jump on a jump, and you're losing your feet off the floor.
I'm sorry, sir.
We know what your
Would you
position is.
please
I have
remove
no,
yourself?
that's so unfair.
Excuse me.
No, it's not. Yes, it is. I'm the public.
Okay.
I'm not somebody who's gonna let one piece of
Sir.
literature tell me what.
Chief, will you please remove this individual from the
It's
room?
not
He's
about the
disruptive.
literature, it's about the lies.
Time to go.
Okay. All right, we're moving on to mayor's report.
Correspondence.
We got the fire service contract. What I want. I'm sorry, is there any correspondence before I get to? I'm sorry, I jumped the gun.
Have anything good?
It is very good, and I'm going to read it very loud.
You'll need to.
Dear Chief Golden, your Macedonia Police Department shines like gold, as evidenced by a true story. On January 2nd, I had a flat tire. Immediately, I telephoned roadside assistance. After a very long time, my phone was cut off. Therefore, I entered a local restaurant to ask for help from workers who were uncooperative. Then I asked for assistance from a customer who just happened to be Jason Hedrick, Officer 426 of the Macedonia Police Department. Although Officer Hedrick and his wife Mia were not on duty, both as police officers, they went out of their way to help me. I cannot find the words to thank them. Their family, Jason, Mia, and sons Eli, and Jax. You should be very, very proud of the type of individuals who serve Macedonia Police Department. I'm going to definitely mess up this man's name. Dr. Negwa El-Najari.
Good job.
And you all believe that's how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
It's a very nice letter.
Yeah, very nice letter, and certainly commendable to both the Hendricks husband and wife and our police officer, and to the police department itself. So, thank you. I'll go on to Mayor's report. I just want to talk a little bit about the accomplishments of 2016, things that we were able to get done in the city. And I think the biggest one, which is the hat goes off to our fire chief, Tim Black, and helping us with organizing a fire service for both Sagamore and Northfield Center. I think that is moving in the direction of regionalization, and when we start to talk about how are we going to save money for the city, how we're going to move forward, how we're going to collectively use our services together, this is one step in that direction, which I hope in the future we can do other things with our neighboring communities. And someday into the future, maybe we'll all be one again as it was at the beginning of time, when this area started off in the early 1900s. They were all one community. So hopefully that can be attainable again in the future. And I know that the chief will talk about our run times and other things, and I think they're fantastic, and nothing but good comments have come out of both Northfield Center and Sagamore. So the people are very happy with our services. Maintaining city services on a limited budget with no capital improvement dollars available. Well, I wanted to say that because last year we had 0 capital improvement dollars, something for trying to handle stormwater related issues and other problems that we have in streets and repaving and patching and what have you. We just didn't have the dollars. And so we couldn't be as effective as we would like to have been. And that's because all of the money was spent in the capital improvement fund the year before and left no dollars for this administration to do things moving forward. We negotiated a great settlement with NERSD, the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, for our water contract, for their stormwater contract. And, you know, Kathy, you're right. We in a sense have turned over various parts of our system to them, but in return, they are then responsible, and we are not letting them off the hook. I mean, we are certainly going to be vigilant with them. We are going to continue to pursue Ledge Road and that problem. We know what the problem is. We're going to continue to pursue it until we get it resolved. The water's coming in from other areas. Our new city engineers have identified 2 major hot spots over there, have been corresponding with NERSD, and I believe that they have the money to take care of the problem. We just have to get the right remedy and the right solution, and when that's presented to us, I'm certain are going to move forward to do that. Having said that, they have also agreed this year to fund the Sioux bridge, if you will, and restore that at 80% of the cost. That was a $400,000 project. I'm happy that they're going to pick up 80%, and the city will have to pick up the other 20% to get that completed. And that's a project that will probably happen in the spring of 2017 here. At least we're hoping that that's done. The plans are done, so it's just a matter of getting a contractor out, and they're in charge of that project, so hopefully that'll get done. As you know, we negotiated with the city of Cleveland to turn over all of our water lines in the city to the city of Cleveland for a non-compete clause, if you will, that we won't steal any of their businesses in Macedonia, which is essentially was a good deal for us, because those streets and those water lines that they have to repair will in some ways include road repairs that they will have to help maintain, or when they dig up the water lines, they'll have to replace the streets. So that was one of the reasons that we thought that this was a good idea, that they will then be responsible for some of those maintenance items. In addition to that, that will then lessen our burden of having to worry about maintenance and extension of water lines throughout the city when they start to go bad, that the city of Cleveland will come in and maintain them and repair them and have to fix them. And we do have a lot of old lines, water lines running through the city that are very brittle underground, and when you uncover them, they immediately crack. And I've seen this happen in the past, so that's going to be their responsibility to take care of that. The other thing that we did this year, which I thought was a great thing, was requiring big box users in our community to come up with a security officer, a security plan, loss prevention plan, and everybody has, or at least all of the big box users have, come up with plans and have put much more focus on theft that's going on in their stores. They're not taking it for granted anymore. They are enforcing it. They are prosecuting. They have loss prevention officers working. There was, and I'm not going to mention any names, but there were some large box users, big box users in our community, that if somebody walked in and stole something, they would not pursue them. And that was not a good thing for our community, because then others that knew that that would occur could go into that store and basically steal something and walk out the door, and nobody would pursue them or charge them. So it was an easy target for our community. And so that, I think, was a positive move that council made this past year in passing that legislation. We completed negotiations with Ambassador Soccer. Now, unfortunately, they haven't started construction, but I think we approved a plan that satisfied all of the residents that lived along South Bedford. Obviously, that was a large issue that was very contentious. Residents were up in arms about Ambassador going in behind them on South Bedford. We did everything we possibly could from a city standpoint to ensure that their privacy was going to be protected and that proper screening was going to go in. As you know, the property is zoned industrial. Having a soccer stadium there, or a soccer indoor stadium, is what they really put in. It's really not, it's less impactive on the residential quality than if you had an industrial building there. So I was happy to see that we did that. The Farnhurst Plow lawsuit was settled in favor of the City of Macedonia and the Parkview Homeowners Association. Was happy to see that that was resolved. Unfortunately, it cost both the Parkview Homeowners Association and the City of Macedonia a lot of money to settle or to resolve that case. But it was resolved in favor of, if you will, again, the City of Macedonia and the Parkview Homeowners Association. The Longwood Manor Home and the renovations thereof, we have worked very closely with the group that is working towards improving the manor house. I think we've gotten it to a point now where shortly they'll be able to occupy the first floor. Most all electrical, water issues, and tightening of the house have been done. The exterior, we cleaned up all around the exterior. The service department did a great job. Last winter, they totally cleaned out the house. And this group is putting things together and trying to restore it in the best way they possibly can. And hopefully this year, when we have our festival, that the building will be open for viewing again. So that's a positive. It's something that, you know, it unfortunately, having an old house as we do, which was our first mayor, or considered first mayor, Colonel Long's home, there was a movement a lot of years ago to just tear down that house. And I was on council at the time, and I said, we can't tear down this man's house. This was something that he's given the city with 300 acres. I said, we just can't tear it down. So I fought against the old guard, if you will, to not tear it down at that time. And that's why I have such a passion not to see it taken down. I know that there are feelings about it, that it's a money pit, and you have to put a lot of money into it, but we have to be grateful that we were receiving 300 acres from Colonel Long, and appreciate the fact that we have such a beautiful park, Longwood Park, and all the amenities that we have up there. Some of the improvements that we did this year up at the park, the dugouts, all the masonry dugouts were put in. There were 8 of them that were put in. Service department and our subcontractor, if you will, we went in there, built them. They absolutely came out beautiful. We matched them up to the existing score tower. We're going to have a dedication in the spring. Real excited. I know the kids that play there are very excited to get there, and they won't have to stand in the water anymore. There's concrete floors in there now, and they're protected from the weather, and they're protected from those that are there visiting to watch the game, so they're kind of in seclusion. So that was obviously important that they have something as nice as that, and I think they will be proud of that. We gravelled all the walk paths at Longwood Park, and again, we didn't get them all completely done, but probably
The largest one.
The largest one we got done, and we're going to continue to work on that and make it better for residents to get up there and walk through the park. The service department did a great job by dropping all that gravel in and getting it done. They did it relatively fast. They did it in just as the spring opened up and got it done, so we really appreciate that. We completed Route 82 Phase 3 widening. There are still issues that we have with Phase 3. We think that there was poor planning and poor design. Didn't go back to the 2008 study that they did on the traffic study. I wish there were turning lanes off of Shepherd Road, which I think was missed. They based their design on a 2008 traffic study, and they were designing it in 2013, 14, which is not the right thing to do. So you study it in 2008 and you design it in 2014, 13, 14, and you're missing the boat. The traffic conditions changed, and there's just a lot of things that a lot of people and a lot of residents have questioned. We have open ditches, but yet we have catch basins in the street. So go figure. I haven't figured that one out. We're putting in a new road and we don't have sidewalks leading to Longwood Park. I don't understand that either. Turning lanes, as I said, there's just a lot of failures that we have over there. The completion of Route 82 underneath the bridge, underneath the I-271 and the new bridge that was put in and the widening there is all completed. That's actually really exciting for the city because I think it alleviated a lot of traffic. And actually, the hat should be off to the previous administration that continued to push for Route 82 and the relocation of the on-ramp, which was something, by the way, that came about with Gene Esser and myself like 20 years ago, that moving the on-ramp to Freeway Drive would alleviate the traffic problems on Route 82. So that is very exciting to see that all done. The new digital entry sign at the park is, the walls are up, the sign we're waiting for. The completion of that will probably come in the spring, or as soon as the sign comes in, and if the weather permitting, we'll get that up. And that'll be a new digital sign that will be able to be advertising what's going on in the rec center and in the park at the same time. And by the way, those monies that were used for the dugouts and for the sign and all that were generated from 2 Club Golf, or Windmill Lake, if you will, golf course. And those monies could only be spent back in the park. They couldn't be spent on roads or other improvements in the city. They had to be spent in the park. And that's where the money's going, back into the park, as it should go. We have put a lot of intense enforcement onto our motels in our city. You know, we've had some problems. The police department has been vigilant of working these motels and the problems that we have. We have 2 that are undesirable. I'm not going to mention any names, but they're undesirable. And we're going to continue to enforce the laws until we rid ourselves of any of the problems that we have there. And my hat's off to the police department because they continue to work it just about every day, and the vigilance about it is there, and we're working on it. So I want residents to know that we're not just setting that aside. We're working hard on it. We finalized the plans for the Veterans Memorial, which is our memorial park at 82 in South Bedford. The flagpoles are on their way. The paths will be cut in as soon as the weather permits. We're going to start to put the design in for how the whole layout's going to be. The Veterans Committee, by the way, my hat's off to them. I think there's got to be 12 guys on that Veterans Committee at least, and they work feverishly, and they're having fundraising, and they're doing a great job of putting that together, and we're doing our part as a city to try to help in facilitating it. They're going to be selling bricks and other benches, and so anyone who would like to purchase them, I believe they have a website.
I'm not sure the website.
Yeah, but they have a website and they're selling all this stuff, and I would encourage residents to get involved in buying a brick or two and having it memorialized, especially if they have someone who had served in the armed forces. We are, if you noticed out in the back of the building or out on the Valley View side, we have created mounds across the old safety building. And we are going to be planting arborvitae along there, and that's to help give some screening to the police cruisers that are sitting out there and other vehicles that are parked on that side of the building here. That's something that should have been done a long time ago. Once we move the arborvitae off of the old memorial little park that we have there at 82 and Crow and Park, we're going to move them over here, and we'll create that screening that we need. So if anybody was wondering why we had mounds there, that's the reason we have mounds there. We're still working on the police and fire memorial, which is going to go right out here in front of the building where the old city hall sat. We're waiting on plans from the Cuyahoga Valley Career Center, who has been helping us in creating a plan to how it should be laid out. We know what we want, but they're helping with the layout. So we're working on that, and hopefully this year we'll be able to put a dent in that. The grant, we received a grant from NERSD, or I shouldn't say a grant. They approved us to tear down the house to the amount of $59,000 or $56,000, was it, Joe?
I think it was 57.
About $57,000. They had given us that money, and that came out of stormwater monies that the city is entitled to receive from them. But while we were in this process of trying to go through getting bids to tear down the house, we then approached the land bank, and they indicated that they would give us the money, or they would tear down the house. So that frees up some more dollars than to stay in the stormwater pool, as opposed to spending it on this home and having to probably $10,000 or $15,000 it's going to save us. So that's the reason, Kathy, that we went to the land bank, because anytime we can get a grant, we're going to go after the money, and if we don't have to spend it out of our own stormwater monies, we can spend it out of some other source. That's why we did it. They have available dollars, and they've agreed to do that. We also we received a grant from the area aging this year for our senior citizens program for lunches for our seniors, and we're very happy that we received that fund that helps offset the overall cost that seniors have to pay. I think they're paying about $3 or $2 or $3. Don't be yawning yet.
Sorry.
We're getting through this. This is about the longest report I have. I'm getting there, though. The other thing I wanted to talk about is that I don't know how many of you saw that they had a rating of communities throughout Northeast Ohio. There were 70 communities that were rated. Macedonia ranked the 23rd wealthiest suburb in Northeast Ohio. That was put out by Cranes. And it just goes to show you that, yep, our community is ranked fairly high in Northeast Ohio, but yet we can't pass a levy to support our roads. It just sends me up the wall. And when I look at communities around us, and I look at the carryover of dollars that those communities have, you'd be shocked to know that Macedonia is carrying over $1.577 million. But Aurora, you know what Aurora is carrying over out of their unencumbered funds at the end of the year? $9 million. Twinsburg, $13 million. Hudson, $7 million. Solon, $15 million. Shaker Heights, $14 million. I mean, does that say a lot? I mean, that those communities have those dollars to carry over? Now, it's not that Macedonia didn't do its work in the past in bringing industry and commercial into our community, but we're falling behind because we've never asked our residents for real estate increases. We've tried to do it off of the income tax. And I know that everybody looks at government and says, hey, government, they just keep spending money, spending money, spending money. I can tell you that this operation in this city has been the leanest in a lot of years. When I was mayor, we had over 20 guys working in the service department. We got 16 guys now. We need more men. We can't keep up with the work out there. It's just impossible. The police department's working double time now. I mean, our city's got much more traffic today. We got more commercial, we got more industry. We can't give out raises this year, folks. And what happens when you can't give out raises? And what happens when you can't continue to attain good workers for your community? They pick up and go elsewhere. I don't think you want to lose good people that you have in your community and try to retrain them. So you got to do something to support the system. The system needs to be supported. And, you know, I continue to say this to the residents of the community. You need, I would hope that they would come to council meetings and be educated on the issues, as opposed to just listening or seeing something that's dropped in their mailbox. They really need to come out and hear firsthand what the situation is. I'm getting there, folks. We have put security cameras up at in City Hall. We put more security cameras in here. I know you'd probably say, well, why do you need more security cameras? Well, today's day and age, with things that are going on in this world, it's required that we be more vigilant about who comes in and out of City Hall and the security of the building. So we've done that. We also did that at the recreation facility as well. So we have cameras now in and out of that building. And we're also working some additional cameras in at the park so that we can watch over by the lake and watch over by the Manor House and our service buildings over there. And we're going to be doing that as well at some of the other locations, service garages and stuff like that. It's pretty important that you continue to watch what's going on. The police department and dispatch can't watch everything, so we've put monitors in just about, we've used their computer monitors as monitors to watch, so employees can sit there at their desk and see what's going on in City Hall and who's coming in and out and what's going on in and around the building. So that's an important security effort that we've made this year. And by the way, hiring an IT director for the city was probably the best move that we could have made. We have saved tons of money. He's figured out ways to save money on our phone bills, on our connections between our buildings, and he runs interference on just about everything. You can ask every department head that they don't have the problems. They're not constantly calling out for outside subcontractors to come in and take care of our problems. They're all handled in-house, and it's getting done. So I think it was a very good move that we did that. We have a new phone system coming. The new phone system, we are moving out of the dark ages with a new phone system. It's going to be up and running probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We have internet upgrades, as I said, at City Hall here and in the rec building as well. Let's see here, I'm getting there. We've got new copy machines that we actually saved ourselves money. We got new copy machines for the city and actually lowered our cost of those costs that we would pay on an annual basis by changing vendors and getting a better deal per page. We switched healthcare this year, which hopefully will save the city money and provide the same coverage that the employees have. As I've indicated, we've been in negotiations with 5 union contracts, and unfortunately we don't have any monies to give any increases to wages this year. The fire department implemented electronic EMS charting software system and eliminating paperwork, which I don't want to take the steam out of the chief's, probably he was going to talk about that. ISO rating, and I'll let him talk about that. And the school resource officer was the final thing that we did this year, which I think was a big plus, putting Glenn Nichols into the high school and him going around. And I would like to see us get the FAIR program back up and running and get into the schools and do fire training for especially the younger kids, letting them know what they need to do when they smell smoke and how they drop and crawl and get out of a burning building, which is something that can happen anywhere, and educating our kids is very important. With that, I'm going to then move on to committee reports. Any committee reports?
Real quick, Cemetery Board has had one meeting. We will be obviously meeting again this year. We face 3 challenges in there. We've always talked about the fence, and the fence has not been cared for. We also have an issue with the roof, and we too at the cemetery have an issue with the roads. The road that actually takes you through the cemetery. It needs to be totally replaced and repaired. So the cemetery has some financial challenges. We are a consortium of the communities, and therefore we'll be coming back to see if there's any dollars that can be from each community into the cemetery. Speaking of dollars, there was a finance meeting the other night. I presented proposals that had come. I presented them anonymously so that we wouldn't have any preconceptions, because it was based on so-and-so giving that. We talked about income tax increase. We've talked about cutting the budget. We've talked about only using NEOSRD as our stormwater money, which it became evident that we get $250,000 a year. So large projects could take you 10 years to get enough money to take care of it. We've also talked about income tax credit. We've talked about raising to 2.25 to 2 1/4, leaving it at 2. And we also talked about assessment for roads and looking at how it would be done if it was an assessment. 0 decisions made. I am still soliciting suggestions from you if you have thoughts of how we can find Willy Wonka's golden ticket, because we just don't have the money. And we started out with Rhonda giving us the state of the business, and as you heard the mayor say, we are ending last year with 1.5, but we will end this year at 600,000. The other thing is, note the budget has not been finalized. It is not due to not wanting to finalize it. It is we had health negotiations and contract negotiations that are in progress. Once those are done, we will be able to finalize the 2017 budget. We have another finance meeting on the 24th just to talk about stormwater, rec center, and roads. Our 3 largest capital challenges that we have. Thank you.
Do you want to mention the special meeting right after the finance meeting?
Oh, and we may, we will be having a special meeting, city council meeting, at the end of the finance meeting to talk about any of the proposals we have and to, if we have to, make any adoptions. The reason being is if we're going to go to anything on the ballot in the spring, we have to have it filed and done at the county at the beginning of February, I think it's 1st or the 2nd, so we don't have a lot of time if we're going to go forth and ask the residents again. Again, it's at 6 o'clock in that room. You are all welcome to come, but if you have anything, just send it to me in my email, and it will go out anonymously so that people can read it and read it for its value. Thank you.
Okay, any other committee reports? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to department reports. John?
Thank you, Mayor. Today's rainfall left its mark on our community today, that's for sure. Kathy, you have the pictures to prove that. We received 26 calls to the office today with flooding concerns. Well, I'm sure there are many more that were still out there that did not come our way. We were able to address all situations with the exception of 82 in front of Aldi's. There is a blocked culvert. We had a jet truck come out and it could not penetrate. So hopefully we're waiting for the water to recede so we can take a camera into the pipe to see what's going on, to determine if we can have it broken up somehow, or we may have to excavate the pipes to open it all up. A brief recap of 2016, wanted to throw out some figures, and I've mentioned some in previous council meetings as time has gone on. We were able to convert 36 streetlights to LED. This is taking out the old bulbs, the photocells, and the ballast, and just going with an LED and photocell light for energy savings. This is in contrast with the Ohio Edison dispute that we were having on what we were paying for the streetlights. We were getting charged $1,500 a light for them to come out to repair. We're doing them for less than $200 right now by going with the LED. Our street signs that have been around for over 20 years now with the white wood posts, to reduce maintenance costs of painting them every 2 years, we are sleeving them in vinyl. Some of the developments that we've done so far, American Estates, Thousand Oaks, and Rolling Hills. With these, we're hoping to get at least 10 years out of the vinyl itself to last, so definitely reducing our maintenance costs on them. With our skid steer and grinding attachments, we've finally been able to do something we haven't done in over 7 years, and that is put hot mix asphalt down on the roads, grind them out and put it down. Our guys put down 42 ton of asphalt this year, shoveling it by hand because we still do not have the capabilities of putting it down, dumping it out of the bed, and rolling it out properly. They were shoveling it out of a hot box, we call it. It's a tow-behind unit that keeps the material warm. For our ditching for this year, with our work orders, was 3,986 total feet. We could have done more, but with the various breakdowns we had with the equipment, we weren't able to do any more. 3,329 total feet of berming were done to Shepherd Road and Ledge. This is for berm stabilization to maintain the edges of the roads. 26 stumps were ground down in the Firestone development. This was due to the ash borer tree removal that took place about 4 years ago. We were finally able to start making some progress of grinding down some stumps, and we still have almost 100 to go in the city. 80 street trees were planted in the gardens at Highland, and this was due to the trees that were planted there originally did not survive, so we had to remove them all and plant it all new throughout the development. And these are all uncompleted tasks because there's other developments, such as the street trees, that still need them. Lake Forest, Thousand Oaks, Parkview, Woodland Point, and plus this doesn't count the replacements that we need for ones that we've taken out in Beechwood Meadows. Our office calls were up this year, and I don't know if this has ever been done before, but I kept a tally this year. Our office received 4,098 calls this year that we took and addressed. And that's why I thank you for hiring Laura to full-time, because it is much needed in there. It's up from 3,750 from 2015. Having Laura aboard helps me out because it allows me to help my guys out since we are short-staffed. There are times I have to go out there and join them. I was out there today with the flooding issues. So having them two full-time in the office can handle the phone calls that come through. And 4,000 calls, I was really surprised that I didn't think it was going to be that high, so I was blown away by that. As the mayor had mentioned, our dugouts have been constructed. The only thing left to do in the spring will be the completion of the walkways going from the dugouts leading to the entry of the ball diamonds and final grading, and they will be completed. And he mentioned the signboard, that we do have the masonry walls up. We do hope to have the signboard by March. Maybe if it comes in March and weather permitting, we will install it and finish the final electrical runs to that. And that's all I have.
Thank you, John.
John, I have one question for you. A resident called about the Summer Road stump tree grinding. Is there any progress in that area?
Not as yet. We wanted to do because to get up into those to that area, you have to be in their yard. We wanted to wait. We were hoping for an actual winter where the ground was frozen and we could take our track skid steer up into there because we cannot reach it from the road with the grinding attachment that we have. By doing it now, especially with the rain that we had, we would do a lot of damage to the yard with restoration and costs.
So you're waiting for it to freeze?
Yes. And if not, once we start going back into the grind, if we have to go in there, we will. But we wanted to wait for that area to freeze. Just that section of Summer, because that's the one that
I understand. I just wanted to know because a resident has felt that this is taking too long. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay, Joe.
Thanks. Thanks, Mayor. It's getting late here, so I'll be quick, but I did want to give the council a brief update on some of the larger items that had recently come through Planning Commission. Ms. Hannikin, I know you regularly attend the meetings, but for the sake of the rest of the council who doesn't regularly attend, I'd like to try to get them up to speed. Northwood subdivision is a residential subdivision of 84 homes planned to be built in 3 phases. It's on the property behind Faith Fellowship Church. They were at the last Planning Commission meeting. They actually have a partial Planning Commission approval at this point. We expect to see them back soon to finish off that approval. Spruce Hill Phase 2 residential subdivision, 17 homes. It's Phase 2 of the existing Spruce Hill subdivision, which is off Ledge Road. They do have their Planning Commission approval, and they're working towards their final engineering approval and permit. The Starbucks, which is slated to go into the corner of Route 82 and Waters Drive, They also recently got their planning commission approval. They will have a right in and a right out only drive onto Route 82 to help with the flow of traffic. And yes, they will have a drive-through for Starbucks. It's actually a multi-purpose building. A dentist office will occupy the other half. And the last project is the Marriott Hotel for the vacant lot next to the Girl Scout building. They also have a planning commission approval, working towards their final engineering permit. All of these developers seem to be pushing forward, so I would expect to see at least some of these projects break ground here in 2017. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Joe. Angela?
Thank you, Mayor. Just closing out 2016, I wanted to touch on some of the highlights just pertinent to the Recreation Department itself. In 2016, we were able to replace a 16-year-old boiler unit for our lap pool, which was not a small undertaking. That was a pretty large task. We also replaced all of our underwater lighting in all of our pools with LED lights. We replaced our entire competitive timing system in the pool area, including all of our touchpads, computer consoles, and starters. And that was in partnership with the Nordonia School District, since their swim team uses our facility for their practices and swim meets. As the mayor mentioned, we installed a 19-camera security system throughout the recreation center, and we had finalized plans for the new digital sign at the entryway. From a programming standpoint, we began offering the Silver and Fit program, which is a health insurance funded program for qualifying seniors. We provided instruction for more than 2,000 swim lesson registrants. We expanded our fitness class variety, massage, and personal training offerings, resulting in a $12,000 revenue increase. We added and organized a 5K and a car show to this year's festival activities. We increased our revenue collections in our park programming and our rec center programming funds by more than $31,000 in 2016. We increased our membership revenue from 2015 by approximately $7,000, and we ended this year with more than $10,000 than last year. So we had quite a few highlights of 2016, one big low light, but we're going to try and move forward and turn that into a highlight here in the coming future. So thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Did you want to mention, though, that we have, what, about 700 people a day?
We do. As everyone can imagine, January is probably one of our busiest times of the year. Mondays are busier than Fridays, so the beginning of the week starts out very, very, very crowded, but we do average about 700 people coming in just for fitness on a daily basis currently.
So about 700 people a day, that's about almost 5,000 a week?
Correct.
Yeah. What are we going to tell them when we have to close the doors?
Yeah. Could get an answer, but it seems...
Rhonda?
Thank you, Mayor. So 2016, we ended up spending in the general fund. I'm going to give you just the general fund numbers because that's the fund that makes the most sense and can spend anything on anything. So the final budget ended up at $12,451,422. We actually spent, now these are unofficial numbers because we haven't officially closed for the year, but unofficially we're at $11,353,336. So we underspent by our budget by $1,711,838, or a negative 13.1%, and a negative 9.0% over last year's actual spending. Unfortunately, however, the revenue coming in from the Regional Income Tax Agency was down for the year by $273,000, $273,280. We ended up in December at a negative $114,676, but for the year it was still $273,000. I wish it could be better. Next year we are projecting $7,750,000 to receive $500,000 of that will be in the recreation center. The remaining portion will be in the general fund. And we are ending out 2016 with an unencumbered cash balance of $1,575,133.58. That is up from the beginning of the year, which was $1,436,426. So we did try to do a lot of cutting in the spending that was being done. For my department, I know that what we did is I eliminated the financial advisor that we had. We don't have a lot of investments that are that difficult to manage. So I eliminated about $20,000 of financial advising fees that we were probably spending. We've also started going paperless with some of our deposits. So we're trying to cut back on paper and have everything available, if need be, through paper, but we will keep it in hand electronically. So just a few things that we're trying to do. That I know by Huntington taking over First Merit Bank, they are eliminating the courier services that we have. So instead of the courier services, we are getting a remote deposit machine. We've had it since last October, which is a wonderful thing. So that way an individual from our office doesn't have to walk to the bank or drive to the bank with a lot of cash and checks on hand. So it's a safety, I think, plus. Plus it's saving us money. So that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Tim?
I'd like to thank council for confirming our last two hires for the consolidation, full-time hires for the consolidation. I guess that's our big thing from last year accomplishments. Working very, very hard with that. And we're seeing good results. For the year, we turned out with 3,331 calls for the district. Now, that is the 1,694 for just the city of Macedonia. It also takes into account the calls that were already done in Northfield Center and Sagamore Hills. But just since September 15th, we responded on 1,037 calls. So extremely, extremely busy. But you know, the system that we have set up is working. I met with ISO. They're going to be coming in to regrade us. So they'll be looking at all of our training and our responses. Still working on equipment with the district, getting equipment into service. We have Northfield Center's engine in service, Sagamore Hills engine and squad in service. Unfortunately, Northfield Center's squad needed some major engine repair, actually not even a new engine is what I believe they're going to be putting inside their medic unit. But everything's going smoothly. We'll be having our first consolidation meeting coming up that we can get together and discuss all of the numbers. So total numbers was 3,331 calls. So next year, I'm sure it will be over that again. So.
Yeah, Chief, tell everyone about the response time that we're getting in both Northfield Center and Sagamore, which I think is really important.
Well, you know, I hate to, I can certainly do that. I hate to compare. The new delivery system for EMS and fire is completely different than what was there in place before. So to look and see what the response times were at that time, we added a station in, we added manpower in. So it's a very large difference. But Macedonia Station, 3 minutes and 39 seconds. That's from when we're toned out to a medic unit or a fire truck's in your driveway. Sagamore Hills, 4 minutes and 16 seconds. And Northfield Center, 3 minutes and 43 seconds to having, so for an average of 3 minutes, 53 seconds. So under 4 minutes, which is really good. That's what we were shooting for, very good times. You know, I constantly get asked, what is a good response time for EMS? And I tell them to hold your breath. Let me know when you want to breathe. And then same with, as far as fire. Light your pants on fire, tell me when you want me to put them out. Fast, real quick. So, you know, our response time is that gives us a much more viable patient. If we're there fast, it also gives us a much smaller fire if we get there fast. It doesn't have time to grow. So that is very, very important to us to get the manpower. We're working with the 3 stations. The closest squad is responding. The officers are doing an outstanding job as far as if the call sounds bad, they're sending additional manpower, possibly 2 rescue squads to the scene, depending on what it is. So, but certainly our call volume is up from last year. The other communities, their calls are up from last year, and we only expect that to be the same in next year. But we are handling it. So,
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Chief? Just real quick, as you said, we added Glenn Nickel to the school. Glenn goes around, handles a lot of the issues that we would send an officer to do. He's there for security purposes, and he bounces around from various schools, mostly staying in Macedonia, but he does venture outside. He's also our juvenile diversion officer that handles a lot of cases with the juveniles that are diverted. Instead of going to juvenile court, it's handled in-house, and if the juvenile follows the guidelines of the diversion that's worked out between Patrolman Nickel and the parents, the slate is wiped clean for that juvenile, so there's no history of any transgressions, we'll say. And we also, fortunately, this year we do have that 7th full-time dispatcher that is on, and that is a world of difference. We now have 2 dispatchers on scene or in the station the whole time. Part of it because of the increase that we have with the fire district, or two new fire stations, so that's a huge help. If most people have never seen Inside Dispatch, but if you've ever watched how they put together like Monday Night Football or something, when you see all these monitors, that's dispatch. They've got monitors all over with here watching the jail, watching City Hall, watching the other places. So it's just monitors everywhere. The girls are extremely busy in there, and Guy. And it's huge having that 7th dispatcher. Thank you, Mayor and Rhonda, for getting
that. Chief Golden, could I ask you a couple things? The mayor alluded earlier to the big box ordinance that was put into place. Do we have a set of statistics to compare to the previous year in terms of what our history is now with regard to incidents in these stores? We did have one originally. I'd like to see an update if we can do that. There was you provided us statistics when we were first looking at
like arrests from the businesses.
Yes, right.
If
the
you
arrests.
Can show me what we provided.
Okay, I'll be happy to do that. And my other question is security at Sugar Bush Park. I know there have been, as you know, also there have been concerns about the isolated nature of the park. Has there been any further update on proposed ways to address that?
We've put that on our extra patrol list several times. We've talked to the homeowners about that. We're doing what we can there.
We considering putting cameras in there or any kinds of other deterrents?
No.
We're not?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Not at this time, no.
We certainly could look at that. Is there monies available for cameras there?
No.
Well,
no.
What we could do is perhaps use some of the cameras. Hey, Reed, I'd like to talk about this offline.
Okay. All right, Mark, do you have anything?
No report, Mayor.
No report. Oh, AJ, you want to? We're going to have AJ talk a little bit about IT stuff.
Good evening.
Shorter than the mayor's report, I hope.
Thanks, Mayor, for the kind words earlier. I appreciate that. Just a few things. We already talked about the phone system that's being done right now. That's going to save about $1,500 a month just by eliminating old phone lines. We also did the internet upgrade throughout the city and kind of get everything on one network is really what we needed done. Everyone had their own internet connection. We also upgraded spam filter, firewall, and added a wireless network throughout City Hall. And we're going to add wireless at the rec center also. But yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We didn't want to leave you behind back there.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
We didn't even know you were back there.
You know, Mayor, of the accomplishments, hiring an IT person with AJ it is phenomenal in the fire department with our, you know, we do all of our AMS run reporting now through the Wi-Fi system. It automatically goes to billing. It automatically goes for quality control to our doctor, for our doctor QA, hospital QA, and I can't tell you how much he has helped us. It is phenomenal, and the help that he's provided us. So I wanted to recognize him.
Thank you. Okay, did I miss any other reports that may be forthcoming? Okay, having no
Motion to
others.
adjourn?
Okay, we have any unfinished business?
Oh, sorry, I jumped ahead.
Yeah. Any new business?
Yes, I have just a couple of points, and I know it's late, so I'll keep it short. There were a couple of news leader stories this week that I think I need to clarify some things. The public records request that I provided to the Court of Claims has been resolved. I do want to correct some statements that were made that said that I had filed 700 public records requests with the city in the past 2 years. That would be more than one per business day in the last 2 years, and although I think it's a tribute to my stamina that people might think that would happen, it hasn't happened. And I think that the other issue is there was a discussion of the former mayor's consent to violating the Ohio ethics statutes, state of Ohio. And it said, I just want to clarify one thing. I had submitted both issues for the mayor of Macedonia in November 2014, and at the same time, in the same complaint, I submitted all the issues to the Ethics Commission that had been raised about our finance director at that time. The only action, and it is now closed, was that the mayor has consented to that he violated the ethics laws. Mr. Schwab has gotten no citations. Thank you. Now, motion to
Can I
adjourn.
make one quick thing about NOPEC?
Sure.
Northeast Ohio Power Energy Council. If you get a letter from NOPEC and it says, do you want to stay with us or do you want to go with us? Go away. Just throw it out. What happened is NOPEC actually renegotiated with First Energy, having a lot of issues. I have to be careful how I say this, I suppose. They did negotiate with a new provider, which actually is going to save more money and is actually more proactive in the solar and wind alternative ways to be able to provide energy. So if you have questions on it, I know the mayor has put a link out on the home page off of the City of Macedonia. We also have our own webpage from NOPEC. I am on the board. I get no money for serving on that board, so this is not a paid political announcement. It's actually an announcement because it worked very hard to provide an aggregated ability to buy power so that you get a benefit and don't have to pay as much. And in a regulation and deregulation and going back and forth, it was nice to have one group and a set of lawyers who actually took care of fighting the issues and continue to fight the issues for Northeast Ohio. And it's not just Summit County, there are numerous counties involved. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just add one thing to the NOPEC issue, because I am the chairman of the NOPEC Inc., which is the other side of the public side, which I was on that side for a lot of years. There was a letter that was sent out by our Chamber of Commerce, Nordonia Chamber of Commerce. I don't think that they really took and understood what they were doing by endorsing this company to come in and solicit our business community. I've gotten plenty of business calls from businesses throughout our community about whether they should drop out of NOPEC and go with this other company that's been endorsed by the chamber. And my opinion is that they should not. And one of the most important reasons why is the chamber never asked the company if they wanted to exit from the program with this new company, what was it going to cost? Well, that's based on how much load you have and how much there's a multiplier. So it could cost a business thousands of dollars to exit from that company. So make sure that if you're going to make a decision about going to a other company outside of NOPEC for the small business accounts, that you check what that exit fee is going to be. Could be very absorbent. You wouldn't want to pay that cost. And I wish the chamber would have come and talked with either myself and/or the Summit County representative, which is Jan. So with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So made.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion's carried. Thank you.
Amen.
Yeah.